So the STA budget is number,
There's one in here, and then there's the
right,
one.
there's one in, well, since Tom is here, why don't we do the actual STA budget, which is Article 14. And right off, there is a typo. I don't know, I assume she got it. It says 18300, and I assume it's 183,000.
That would be correct.
290.
I would change our budget a little bit.
Yeah. So, are you going to join the conversation too? At what point? All right, okay. But did you get that typo mistake? In the body of the,
Where am I warrant doc?
of the article? It says 18300, it should be one. You got that, okay. All right.
So, I'll be talking about the STA budget. So, for this past fiscal year, fiscal 19, the STA started the year already with a lot of its funding allocated. So, when I talk about funding, I'm primarily talking about their two main line items, which are community support, which goes towards funding of local events, or marketing, which goes to, as the name implies, marketing for Sturbridge and marketing to promote Sturbridge. So this past year, they allocated practically all of that, both of those line items. So for this upcoming year, what they're looking to do is take a step back from spending all that money on events and all that money promoting Sturbridge to kind of assess where that money can, how to best spend that money, how to be stronger fiduciaries of that line item. So they're looking at conducting two RFPs next year, which will identify a marketing strategy for 5 years for the town to promote Sturbridge, and so that when we have an event that comes to us and asks us for funding, we can say, your plan hits our target demographic, which we know is going to be successful, that's great, or we know it's not really going to hit the audience that's coming to Sturbridge, so maybe we want to think about that, so we can better help our applicants so that we're better spending, we're better allocating those funds towards projects that are going to be successful, as opposed to projects that maybe aren't going to provide the returns that we want. And we're also going to create an RFP that is going to investigate a town brand, a actual town brand. And I don't just mean developing a logo. I mean, brand is more than a logo. Brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. That's based, I think that was a Jeff Bezos quote. But it's an accurate statement. We want to create, when you say Sturbridge, we want something specific to come to mind. We're going to develop what that is at the STA next year. So a lot of our spending is going to go there. The STA is also looking to spend a lot, and by that I mean about $18,000, I think, for next year with Discover Central Massachusetts to do very targeted ad campaigns with them. They're our regional tourism partner. And I think those are the big projects that are jumping to my mind for
Pretty
next.
much,
Yeah. At this point, I'm really here to answer questions. If you have anything specific that you'd like to ask.
Questions?
You get any feedback to find out how effective that advertising is in drawing business and tourism to the community?
And you're kind of hitting the, and Tom's laughing, but it's kind of the truth. We get some data back. So the STA every year pays, I think it's about $1,600 to get a report called a STAR report, STR. And the STAR report provides us with hotel data. So we get data, we can see like how many people are staying in Sturbridge, so we can see, room rates, which is good. When we do a campaign with, say, Worcester Magazine, we can see click-through rates, which provides us with some data. But in terms of really diving into the data, they'll say this campaign was really successful. We don't have that data yet. That's why we want to do this strategy to really investigate what is our target audience, what kind of media do they consume, so that when we do that next campaign, we know that we're hitting those groups that are going to give us the best returns, as opposed to saying we think that we should set up advertising in Albany, in the Albany Times market, or up in Portland. We know that our audience is coming, by doing this study, we're going to know that our audience is out of Hartford, and we should spend most of our money there. That's kind of what we're hoping to get. So we don't necessarily have the data that you're talking about at this time, because it's kind of a hard moving target. But by doing these studies next year, we're hoping to better define it.
Who will conduct the studies?
We have 2 RFPs out currently that will start presumably next fiscal year. So,
And what will be the guidance they're given,
in terms of,
what they should do?
we have, in the RFPs, we have guidance on what we're looking for, what we expect them to do. And once we award that contract, then we'll get into, more of the specifics of that.
To use your reference to Hartford,
Mhm.
let's say that a lot of visitors hail from the Hartford area. And if money heretofore for some years has been spent largely in the Hartford area, is that why, or is it a coincidence? Will the research be able to clarify?
So I think there's 2 answers to that. First is, if we do the research and we say, our majority of our audience is from Hartford, that tells us 2 things. One, it tells us that Hartford market's a good market to invest in, A. But B, it also tells us that that audience is the information of that audience. So Hartford, say West Hartford, for example, because it's a little bit easier example, higher income bracket, medium income is over, X percentage. We can then say, okay, using this similar knowing the demographic breakdown, we can look for other communities and other audiences throughout, New England or the country, and say we should target markets that meet this similar demographic, and then we can target our ads to go there, because we can assume that if it's going to work here, it might work there as well, because there's of those similarities. There's no guarantee that ads are going to necessarily provide the same returns, but we can, by using that data, we can really say we're putting our best foot forward, and we assume that, or we believe that this is going to give us the best return on investment, as opposed to blindly saying we're going to advertise in this market. By having that data, we can better target it. Whether or not it's going to provide the same returns, again, it's yet to be seen. But
What role, if any, will the Public House and Old Sturbridge Village have in your research, in the input at the outset? And another part of that question would be, whatever research they each is conducting, if any, will it be put side by side with the results of the Tourist Association research?
so part of our RFPs are to have the vendor chosen work not just with us, but with those major players in town and the minor ones too. We want them to interact with this community and say, what do you see as Sturbridge brand? Because we can, Tom and I can sit here all day and talk about what we think Sturbridge is, but you're going to get a very slim perspective. So we want them to outreach to those, groups like the Public House and OSV, but also Table 3, BTs, the list goes on, and get their perspective as well, and say, and use that to create a singular vision, or as much as one can.
How will you know if it turns out that, just to use
Sure.
the commercial establishments you mentioned plus OSV, how will you know that you're not counting the same person several times? They went to the Public House, and then the same individuals, same party, went to BT's, and they went to the Village. How do you know that it's the same person or party or group as distinct from separate ones, even if they're from the same point of origin.
So I guess I'm trying to understand if I can ask clarifying. Are you talking about if we're having surveys, that sort of thing, saying, you know, if you go from one establishment to the next establishment, is the same person, so you're comparing apples to apples?
How will your methodology avoid double or quintuple counting?
Larry, I don't know that our survey is meant to go in that direction.
Nor are we saying that we're going to necessarily.
Not at least try to get, but I think what our survey is trying to do is, you know, where are, in broad strokes, where are these people coming from? You know, so we have a very robust wedding venue here in Sturbridge now. Where are they coming from? What, are they from Southbridge? Are they from Boston? Are they, you know, we don't have that information, okay? So I, you know, that's the kind of bigger picture, I think, is, you know, if people are coming into our community, where are they coming from? And right now, we're working with some advertising that we did directly on our own. We're working, you know, with the chamber, with their, you know, Sturbridge Township's promotion, and we're now partnered with Discover Central Mass and trying to, you know, work with them. And the question that, as the STA as a whole is asking, is, okay, we're out there marketing in these three different, you know, organizational structures. You know, they're giving us back, you know, click-through rates because we're here on this website and on that Facebook page ad and all of that other stuff that we're buying, magazines, Yankee Magazine, et cetera, you know, and we're kind of looking at all that data that we're collecting, and quite frankly, myself and I think the other members, you know, maybe Brian could have a little better handle on it, but at the end of the day, we've got a lot of data, but it's like, okay, this is all good numbers, what does it mean? Where, you know, where are we drawing, you know, where are our real successes at, or, you know, where are we not being very successful at? And is there, what's the reason behind it? Is it because we're too close and we're only a tank away or an hour away? So, you know, we're only getting day trippers where, you know, we maybe want to focus on overnights, stays, that type of thing. And so I think it's a step back, and it's a much bigger, broader picture of, you know, we now have, you know, a history of supporting three different entities trying to, you know, ourselves included, trying to promote Sturbridge, and we're saying collectively, you know, now that we've collected some data, what is that data really telling us?
And I would also just like to say, it's not so much the numbers. You know, it's not like it's not so much the counting. Like he's like, you're not Brian.
Right, I know, right.
Like Tom is saying, it's that broader picture of, you know, what is that market, so that we can better target it, so that we can, when we do that spend in the future, that we're spending it in areas that are going to provide us the best returns.
Have the village and the public house and perhaps others made a reliable indication that they will divulge their data to you?
We've worked with I can only speak to the partners that I've worked with, but OSV we're working with, and they're a very helpful group to work with. So everyone is aware of kind of what we're looking to do next year. I am not anticipating any real resistance to this. I think it's you know, a rising tide floats all boats. You know, I believe that having the STA make this investment that will ultimately benefit, you know, a lot of these businesses, you know, having them come together to the table, I'm not anticipating any real challenges to them saying, I'm not going to share this or that.
Don't hesitate to look at the record on that. Well, just one last thing. Will there be a diminishing of promotional expenditure in order to do the research, diminishing this year, which of course would have consequences next year?
Right. So this would we're anticipating it to be a fairly large part of the budget. We don't know exactly what it would be yet because we don't have the bids in yet, but we're anticipating a good chunk of at least the marketing line item, which is what this would come out of, to be allocated towards this. That's why the STA is partnering with Discover Central Massachusetts, because they already have a very strong established social media market. They already have a very strong email community. They already have a lot of the connections that will allow us to continue to advertise Sturbridge and promote them in a very positive way. And it's with an organization that's trusted by the STA, and that is a state organization. So we know that they're going to provide, us with some good services. And based on the agreement that the STA is committing to, assuming that the budget is passed, we feel comfortable that even though we're making this big expense this year, this upcoming fiscal year, that it is a one-time expense that, while it will deplete the marketing budget, in fiscal 20, once fiscal 2021 comes around, we'll have all this information so that we can better provide that advertising.
And better spend that money going forward.
Yeah.
Right now, we're spending it, but like I said, we just have conceptually, are we doing it properly? Where I think we're trying to take that one step back and saying, let's, now that we've done this for a couple of years, we've collected some data, let's take a look at it. Let's have someone outside who is in the marketing area take a look at it and say, this is good, this is better, this is not so good. And again, I'm talking in very broad terms, okay? So yeah, we're looking at cutting back some of our direct marketing efforts, for the next year, because we're, taking some of that money out. But, it's a decision where we think the town should go.
I said one more thing. Well, one more thing. I understood you to say just now that it's a one-time expenditure, and I would just offer the thought that the public are a passing parade, not a standing army. People are born, people die, people's status changes, they move up to management. Suddenly they're unionized, they hit the lottery, a lot of things could happen. And the handmaiden observation to that is that the very most successful organizations never stop researching. They're trying to dance with their consumer who gets to call the tune.
And I don't disagree with any of that. I absolutely agree with you. And that's why it's not a permanent marketing plan, it's a 5-year marketing plan. We're going to have to come back to this eventually. So a one-time, when I say one time, I mean, we're going to make this investment now, but in a couple of years, we probably will have to do this again to at least update. But we don't have even a base plan at this point. To do a base plan versus an update or a review are two different things. We need to create that base plan first. So this is the investment we're making. So will we have to, in 5 years, come back before you and say, we're going to be doing a review of our plan? I think that's true, but I think at the same time, we're going to be reviewing every year. I don't think this is going to be continuous.
I mean, we ask for, when someone comes in and asks for money, part of our application process puts them on notice that we do expect an after-action report. So, we're taking a stopping point and looking and saying, are we going in the right direction? But, as we continue to, hand out money and get reports back in, we're obviously going to be hopefully better able to track the significance of that feedback too. And again, as a 5-year plan, do we, dust it off and look at it? Again, we're waiting to see what companies reply back and kind of vet out exactly what this report may or may not look like. Hopefully, we've got our conceptual ideas. I mean, we've even looked at trying to hire a company to track, at least by zip code, every sale that's made in the town of Sturbridge. You can pay for that. But, it's $50,000-$60,000, and we're saying, well, does that give us the answers we're looking for? Maybe not, okay? So, it's a process that, the town started a couple of years ago by bringing Kevin on, and starting to move forward in this direction, and I think this is, part of that evolution, saying, okay, now that we got Kevin on board, now that we've got a stability within the STA. We've been moving forward with a couple of years, and how are we doing? How do we engage ourselves? How do we take that step back and saying, are we missing something? Or we be doing something better or different?
And I think just to add to what Tom was saying, I agree with what he said. This isn't a plan that we're just going to put on the shelf. This is a plan that really needs to be a living document that we're going to continue to review and look at continuously, because it just has to be. Given how marketing is nowadays, you can't be static with it. So.
Thank you. Thank you for your forbearance.
Other questions?
Yeah, I'll throw out two of them for you. One is your marketing effort separate and distinct from the businesses that will benefit from the draw that you're looking for? Like, we talk about the Village, the public house, the restaurants, some of the other businesses in here. And the second one is your focus on this advertising tourist-related or business-related? Because there are some properties that have for sale signs on where it'd be nice to attract a new business to town. There are properties out here with space for lease. That'd be nice to draw somebody in here to lease out some space and add some business. So are you just focusing on the tourism side or the business side as well?
I think the answer to both your questions is both. Because it's true, because ultimately the marketing that the STA does is really focused on tourism, because as the name implies, that's what their focus is. So, for example, they allocated, I believe it was $13,000 to Old Sturbridge Village this year to help promote their Christmas by Candlelight program, which was a very successful program. Drew in more people this year than they did last year. So they're doing, they support businesses in that respect. They support events like Pentastic, like the Rick Hoyt Half Marathon. They've done all these different events that they promote, that they pay to market directly. They also market the town of Sturbridge in advertising campaigns. So they're doing one right now with Worcester Magazine that's purely digital, because we track that better, and that's a little bit easier to manage as well. And that just promotes the town of Sturbridge. So those are really promoting, that idea of either a specific Sturbridge event or the town of Sturbridge. The businesses that you see out, because I think right now there's about 23 or 24 businesses that are for sale or lease in Sturbridge currently, commercial. And those aren't really under their jurisdiction. That's more what I do with economic development, and I promote those sites on our town website. But by promoting Sturbridge as a place to be, by promoting the town of Sturbridge as a vibrant community, that's helping. I think that's providing businesses, potential businesses, with awareness of Sturbridge as more than just the village, and more than just that place that has that amazing barbecue joint. We're really showing off all that Sturbridge offers beyond kind of that top layer. So while they're not doing that kind of business marketing, that's something that I, as economic development coordinator, do look at. Are we doing that right now? Not beyond having it on our website, but one of the things that I'm looking at doing right now is I've actually put in to the state for some grants to do those kinds of studies, so we can better we can have a stronger economic development strategy going forward. It's a similar 5-year plan. So, did that answer your question?
Yes.
Other questions?
Kevin, up until this point in time, how have you decided where to advertise? Has it been just sort of a shot in the dark? It sounds like this is the first time you're doing this kind of analysis.
Some of it has been dictated by the applicants themselves. So if they come to us, and I'll take the New England Shake-Up, for example. It's a 1950s themed event.
Weekend event.
Yeah, weekend event that brings in, fills up the host and several other hotels in the area. They kind of know their audience best. I do not know the 1950s themed audiences and all their music. That's just not what I do. But they do. So we kind of follow them and they say, these are the advertisements we are advertising, and we'll, as long as it's approved, we will pay for those. For the STA, when they undertake a campaign, some of that is based on the group in question. So Discover Central Mass, we've partnered with them to do Yankee Magazine campaigns, which kind of fits with that Old Sturbridge Village theme, that kind of same kind of general audience of, higher income bracket, looking for those kind of New England trips. So that's, we feel is a fairly safe investment to make. Worcester Magazine is another one that we've done several campaigns with, and it's just helping to bring awareness to both, when we did the print campaigns, it helps bring awareness to those 80,000-ish readers in this area, kind of what some of the local events are. So for those, we would say, live music at Rapscallion, there's a bonfire. Those are the kinds of things we would promote. For more of the, where we would advertise, some of that, we looked at where, let me start over. For the Worcester Magazine digital campaign that we just did, we looked at areas that we weren't targeting elsewhere through other advertisements from the non-STA started events. So, for example, the Chamber of Commerce was advertising in the Albany Times market, which is the New York market. So the STA said, we'll target the Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Vermont, and Maine areas. And that's what they did in this last campaign. So we try to be we try to look judiciously on where best to advertise. Usually it's where aren't we advertising. And this goes to the point that we made in our discussion of we need to better know what our audience is and who they are and where they are so that we can better allocate those funds to events, campaigns that are going to give us better returns.
So this is really the first time you're looking at this from a data standpoint. You've been advertising, you now want to take a look at what you've got and make sure you're putting your dollars in the right place. Is that fair to say?
I would say so, yeah.
That's a, that's a good, generalization. As a committee, we, I think we also kind of track what other communities do. So I don't know if you guys are familiar right now, Virginia Beach, Virginia is advertising very heavily in the Boston market, television market, with their promotion of, quote, going beachless, which is the community's what, everybody knows Virginia Beach for the beaches, but they're trying to promote the other museums, the other things that are happening in Virginia Beach. So their promotion campaign is go beachless, okay? I'm sitting there saying, gee, that sounds interesting. Is that something Sturbridge should look at? Is it, do we want to, there's a lot of different ways we can market the town. And, collectively, we're all there trying to do a good job, but we're not marketing experts. And so that's why we want to bring in, and try to develop this guide, this plan for the next 5 years and say, okay, let's try it. Hopefully it works. Hopefully it's positive. I mean, the tracking we're doing now with the STAR report, at least, it could be related to the economy in general, but, we're seeing, those numbers increase. We're seeing, the meals tax number increase every year, and, so is it, how do you correlate that to what we're spending? That's, is there a correlation? I would hope there is, that, some of what we're spending is driving those numbers upwards, but that's what we're looking to, we're at a point saying we've got a lot of data. We want to go forward doing the best stewards of this money, and we don't really have a roadmap to follow, a guide, a plan. And that's why we say, let's take this step back. Let's bring in a marketing firm. Let's see what that roadmap may look like.
Other questions?
Kathy? I have a few.
Okay.
Is that- So I'm sorry for being late. So I gathered from the conversation this marketing plan, that's going to come out of this marketing and advertising,
Yes.
and that's why it seems like the category has changed this year.
In what respect?
Well, we have community support, marketing and advertising, which the bulk of the money seems to be sitting as, right? And then we've got salary and wages, and then employee benefits. Did I miss that part?
No.
So, do you mind just giving me a little, like, what these are? I know salaries and wages, that's part of your pay, but I'd like to know a little bit more about the others.
Sure.
And,
oh, sorry.
and sorry, and if you don't mind, when you talk about community support, I'd be curious to know what was funded last year and what you anticipate to be funded this year.
I can get this to you in a digital
Perfect.
copy as well, but why don't I just
Oh, okay, that would be great. I think
Well,
everybody
I'd
else would like to see.
I'd like him to talk about it on the record, though.
Sure, sure.
But, so, community support is used to pay for events in Sturbridge, in general. And we revised our definitions too, which again, I can provide, I'll send this in an email copy to you guys tomorrow. I'll
That would
send it
be
to-
helpful,
To the
yeah.
chair, if that's all right. So it is to sponsor events in town, goods and services. So for example, paying for porta potties for an event, paying for tent rentals, things of that nature that are more, actual, you need to purchase a service of some variety. That's not marketing. We also would use it to do studies that are not marketing related. So the branding and the marketing obviously would not fit into this line. And so for this past fiscal year, fiscal 19, we've sponsored Concerts in the Commons, the Jaguar Association of New England, which is over at the Host, New England Shake Up, again at the Host, Hamilton Rod and Gun Clubs, Big Mo, Mass Outdoor Expo,
They have every.
the Harvest Fest, Geo Fest, the Half Marathon. There was a transfer from community sport to marketing. The BAG pilot program, which was the shuttle we tried to do. Sturbridge Farmers Market. There was a purchase from MassCore, which we used to purchase two things. One was these folders and some polos that would be used for just distributing to, these would be used for events and,
We've been attending a couple of the trade shows.
like the AAA travel
And so
show.
this way here, we bought polos, with a nice little logo, so we all, kind of just, look neat.
Instead of me having to wear a jacket, I could wear a polo, so. We've also sponsored Discover Central Mass membership, a Baba Sushi event, special events committee, paying for the Star Report, Trails webinar, a working dog show, which is bringing over, I think it's close to 300 room nights to Sturbridge, which is huge. One hotel's making close to $30,000 on this one event alone. So we helped sponsor that. And then the Colonial Drawing Muster. So that was all the ones that we sponsored this fiscal year for community support alone. And that started with, I'll make sure I get my numbers right on the record. We started in that with 36. We had to make a transfer to pay for, because we had a lot. So ultimately, we've spent so far $43,000 and change in that line item alone.
So, and you think that, okay, great, sounds great. And you think this amount in community support is adequate?
We do. We kept the percentages the same. So roughly, with the change in how my salary is broken out, there was really minimal change to the overall percentage. It was still around 20% of our account. The other 20% or 60% went to marketing, which is always our biggest expense. It's always the one we get most requests for, so that gets the majority of the funding. And then the remaining 20% goes to community support. We found lately, in the past 2 fiscal years, we made one transfer from community support to marketing, and the next year it was from marketing to community support. So it depends on the request and what the request is.
And so this, what you just went through, thank you for doing that, is currently what's earmarked for this.
For fiscal 19.
So do you have a running list of what you anticipate for this year?
In general, several of these events are recurring. So Jaguar Association of New England, they're an annual event.
Right. I'm sorry, I didn't hear the Pintastic. Did they not go to you this year?
Pintastic came, but they came for marketing only.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so again, it depends on what their request is and what the STA chooses.
Okay.
So for instance, Pintastic, I can get more into in marketing, but the STA this year actually I think had to be a lot more judicious in how they spent the money, and there were several instances where the request came in at one number, and the STA said, we can't fund it to that amount. So they actually, in my 3 years here, that's the first time they've really had to do that.
This year, we're now down to several $100s left. that we
300
haven't-
in each,
300 in each.
roughly.
In the past, we've had thousands of dollars unallocated. We have supported a large number of events, both in community support and in marketing, on both sides. And I think part of that, what's driving that, is the Special Events Committee has brought in a number of events that we did not have in the past. And so one of the other things that we're looking at is, and Pintastic is a very good example. We have been sponsoring and supporting that, and I think this is a good use of the money, is when these events come in, the first couple of years, they're looking to build their base, get their name out there, get on the calendar, so to speak. And after a few years, we should start dialing back the amount of support, because obviously we only have a limited pot of money to use. And we want to provide other events the opportunity that may walk in tomorrow, because obviously we have no control over that, who may come tomorrow with a great idea. And so it's a balance of, supporting existing events to a limit, and then making sure we have funds available, so when the next great idea walks in the door, we can help support it.
And your application process kind of covers that? So in the case of Pintastic, where they came from more than just marketing in the past, that your application, you're comfortable with that process in honing as to what people want and need and what you're able to give?
In my 3 years here, I have updated that application several times.
Great.
And I think I think it's a continuous learning process for us, because when I came, we really didn't have that.
We didn't really have much of a
Yeah.
one-page
It was
application.
fairly new a few years ago.
So a lot of it has been learning from best practices. So actually, if you, anything that the STA does is on our website, on the town website, including our packets and our applications. So if you are so inclined, you're more than welcome to go look at all of that, including the current draft of the next version of the application. I'm actually writing it now. And a lot of it is learning from best practice to say, to answer all of the things that Tom was just saying, are you, how is this benefiting the town? We're trying to get some of that data that we keep talking about tonight. How are we getting that data? And give us some of that data. So if you want, $8,000, great. Show us how that's going to give us an investment. How is that going to, what is the return to the town of Sturbridge? Specifically looking at, are you booking rooms? And if so, is it 5 rooms or is it 500 rooms? Because that's 2 very different things. And same thing, are you using Sturbridge contractors? Are you using a local restaurant to cater the event, and it's a $5,000 contract? Great, that's $5,000 into Sturbridge economy. So those are the sorts of things that we're starting to ask, and it's a continuous process. I don't think we're ever going to get a perfect application, but we're moving towards that continuous perfection.
But at least it addresses some of the questions that Larry was asking, like
absolutely.
how,
And again,
who and
if
all
we
that.
can collect data like, okay, your registrations, you pre-sold, tickets to the event. Do you have zip code data you can at least share with us? Where were these people coming from? So we keep tweaking our application. One of the challenges we discovered this year was, okay, an event comes in, we sponsor them, and then they don't come back for any number of reasons, okay? So we're at their mercy if they decide to give us an after-action report. Obviously, if they come back looking for more money, we can say, okay, we're not going to give you any money until you answer our questions. How was your event last year and all of that good stuff. But, the events that are one and done, and any number of reasons could come up why it's one and done. They may just choose to go to a different venue because the venue they chose in Sturbridge just didn't support it properly. As an example, I can think of one right off the top of my head that is not coming back to Sturbridge this year. They're going to a different venue to have it because, the facility they were looking to use just isn't big enough to accommodate their particular event.
And something else that the STA has done this year,
Yeah.
which we instituted an STA policy of just, reviewing applications. And the STA now has it where if you submit an application for, say, a $500 event, they can look at that in one meeting and approve. If it's over $2,500, it's a 2-meeting review. So first meeting is just the STA, looking at the application, just, thinking about questions, thinking about how it's going to impact the town, and then having me inquire with that applicant and say, we need these answers so that we can better understand your application and understand how it will help Sturbridge. And then they come in the next meeting if they're invited, and we go from there, and they approve or reject at that meeting. But that was something that came up this year to say we really need to. It's that continuous process that I keep referring to. Of they're trying to continuously be better in how they're handling the money and how they're handling these applications. And I think that we're moving in a positive direction.
And again, some of these people may or may not have a whole lot of experience putting together an event. So, I think we take this two-month process to kind of help guide them through, how do you, have a successful event? Because obviously, when we're funding good events, we kind of have a rhythm there and saying, okay, well, if you do it this, and this, here's what's been successful for other events.
Yeah.
Have you thought of doing it this way? Again, we leave it up to the people, but again, it just gives us that, ability to work with them and ensure that it's the best possible event.
And out of the community support, is that where the funding comes from to go to the Concerts on the Common? Did I hear you say that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then, so marketing and advertising. So this is a big chunk of money.
Yes.
So do you have an idea as to well, you must have an idea as to what was spent this past year and what.
Exactly what we spent it on.
And I'm curious to know, I'm sure the Chamber of Commerce is in there?
They are, yes.
Okay. And could you just elaborate on that?
On them
please?
alone or the whole group?
Both.
Okay. So, like I said, for marketing this year, we allocated to the village, and that was in the amount of $14,000. They only spent $13,200. New England Shake Up, Harvest Fest for marketing received an allocation of $3,300, and they spent $3,100 or $3,193. GeoFest, another chamber event, allocated $1,370. Spent so far $316. They're still spending that line item. Phone line and fulfillment, again, a chamber marketing, that is $850 allocated. They
I'm
spent
sorry. I need to stop you there. What is that?
The phone line.
So we're still paying the chamber for the phone line?
Yes. That was a debate at the last meeting that we had with that.
Good.
And at this point, I think that I'm trying to recall the chamber was taking some action on that, and I can't recall.
We clearly asked for more data
Mhm.
on the
Good.
benefits of that, with the eye of eliminating that in the future. In other words, is the value still there?
Okay.
Okay? Knowing that very few people dial 1-800-COSV, okay? All right? But it's all, done this
Okay.
way.
Well, it's
So
eight-
we've asked, we notified the chamber, we wanted them to keep good records this year, so if they come back in the next fiscal year saying we want to keep it, what do your numbers look like? What are you, again,
Did you get any
That's a-
numbers from them?
well, you got to remember, this was a year ago, so they came in like a year ago, July, so no, we haven't gotten any numbers from them.
But it's been funded for the past few years. I don't mean to hop on
Well,
the, on it, but-
so that's why our application process, we learn, we tweak it,
yeah.
okay?
No, I appreciate that. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
So, continuing on, Albany Times Union, that was another chamber. That was $19,000. They've spent the entirety of that. Mass Live, another chamber. They spent all but $1 of that, and that was a $10,000 allocation. They have a $2,000, what I've called discretionary, the chamber president calls it, what'd you call it?
Slush fund?
No.
No. Basically, it's
It's
hot deals or,
Yeah,
right.
there was a term for it, and I wasn't going for
Yeah,
that. But they
right.
basically, they use it for when, like, Boston Globe has a sale where you can allocate for that. So
Okay, so that's
But again,
continuing.
she hasn't spent any of that this year at all.
Well, I guess what I'm getting at is some of the same things come up every year from the chamber that you don't, number one, you don't have a whole lot of information from them. We don't know if it is for Sturbridge, right, which really the focus should be on Sturbridge, right? That's never been able to, even when I was on STA, it was never something that was able to be proven. So I'm just curious, I appreciate your application process, and I'm just trying to connect it to
So,
see.
Joni, to your point directly, okay, that's one reason why we're really looking at asking for this marketing study. Okay? Because I think, if Kevin will read down some of the other things, the partnerships with Discover Central Mass, we're trying to get away from just the chamber doing marketing. Not that we don't know is it been successful or not, but again, we're trying to branch out. And, that's part of, us having Kevin, part of his time, for the STA is to, where are we going with our marketing money, okay? And so we bought into Discover Central Mass, we've bought into, I think, some initiatives with Worcester Magazine. We're venturing into other areas and other markets, but that's when we're coming back to the thing of saying, okay, we're, spending money here, there, and everywhere, but where is that where we want to go? And as a committee, we're looking at it and saying, okay, when, Discover Central Mass comes in and says, gee, if you partner with us at the AAA travel show and help, we'll share the booth with you, okay? There's a cost to that, and, we go down and help. And so, yeah, we get a little FaceTime with some people, but, they buy other ads. We're partnering with them for Yankee Magazine. These ads are not cheap, okay? And we perceive that there's a value there to do that, but without this marketing study, that's how we want to tie this all back together, is we're trying, other things in addition to the chamber, and the chamber knows that we're doing this, so it's not like, we haven't reached out and talked to Alex and say, look, we're not so convinced necessarily that the Sturbridge Townships, because that's where really this money goes. It promotes the Sturbridge Townships.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
All right? And clearly we require of her, as we do everyone else, to put, our new Sturbridge Wayfinding logo on the advertisings, and
Yeah, I see.
we're, it's a slow but steady process, okay? And like I said, as a committee, we're together at this point saying, we've got questions just as you are asking, okay? And that's why we're looking at the marketing and the branding study.
And I will just say that in my time here, the STA has gotten a lot more detail with their questions, and they are working very hard to they're asking a lot of just very, very smart questions that we need to be asking at this point. And I'm confident that we're moving in the right direction with that. In terms of next year, how this will look, given how they're looking to spend their money, this will look vastly different. I can pretty much guarantee that.
Okay,
So,
okay. If you don't mind, I'd be curious to hear, just
That's
if
fine.
you guys don't mind,
No,
a couple of other things
yeah.
that might, do you mind? Well, let me ask you this
We sort of
then.
need to wrap
Yeah,
up.
yeah, I was going to
because,
say,
we
we're
have
kind
other
of getting
people
deep
waiting,
into the
and-
details. It's interesting discussion,
I
but
can
if you
provide
forward
all
that
of this
to
for you.
us.
I can give you the entire budget, which is also online. It's, if you go under every month, I put their budget on the in their packets, which are now available online. So you can look at all this stuff, all the data that
Okay.
they see, I provide to them,
Okay.
and I provide to the public. So it's all online.
Okay.
If you have further questions, I'm certainly happy to answer them offline if it's easier.
Yep, we
Yes.
can do that, but I have a couple of others.
I do too, so.
You do too? Well, how
Well-
about if Kevin has
Okay,
turned here?
Go ahead.
I think Tom might have answered this, really just one kind of large question in a way. So at events sponsored or supported by the STA, or with ads either paid for or supplemented by STA funds, how is the STA represented then? Are we putting the town's logo? Are we
Yes.
putting on everything? Do we have representation? I know at one point we had bought banners, so at certain events, there were STA banners that could be put out.
That's before my time, but In terms of the marketing, and I'm only going to speak about on the marketing, we do require that at the bottom of every ad, you say sponsored in part by STA, and with our new wayfinding logo on it, so that it does get the recognition that this was paid for. For something like a porta potty, kind of hard to do that.
But it doesn't mean they couldn't put a banner up that said, you know, Sturbridge Tourist Association. Because I know we have them. We have one that goes across the street. We have the kind of fly banners. We have all
I'm
kinds
not sure if we do.
Where are
sir.
those?
Yeah,
in the basement across the street. That's where they were.
I don't believe they are currently. They may be, but I haven't seen them in my time here. But certainly, we do require them in marketing to have that recognition of the STA.
And when we don't see it, we call them out on it. We
And we have done that
we've
several
done
times.
that, yeah.
Chamber has, we called them out and specifically said, you need to put our logo in it. And they have.
Okay.
I'm not saying anything.
Okay. All right. What about, anybody have questions about the salary and employee benefits? Now, question on the employee benefits, that wasn't in this budget before, so was that in the town side budget?
No, so basically, the short version is this. At the end of last year, the former town administrator had suggested that my budget, which previously salary was 100% STA benefits for town, that it be split 50-50. As my job is economic development and tourism, and STA is just tourism, that it should be split 50-50 between the towns. So that's where that request came from.
But then the benefits,
The
which were before, were 100% on the town side, are now, is this 50% as well? The
Yes.
benefits, I'm
Yes,
assuming?
ma'am.
I know they're usually around the 25-ish mark.
Believe it or not, Kathy, that 50-50 split actually worked in the benefit of the STA, because I think, at least for this year, the split came out that it was slightly less than us just paying his whole salary.
Right, yeah, I
Okay,
know there
so,
wasn't much
you
of a
know, it
difference.
actually gave us, I don't know, $1,000 or
It wasn't-
something. It wasn't a lot, but, you know, it was pretty much apples, you know, whether it's 50-50 or the split, it was about the same.
Are those separately documented positions? So they each have their own job description?
No, I have one job description.
I think it's just the one description that we have.
So it's economic development coordinator /
Yeah.
advisor to the
No, it's
service?
economic development and tourism. I do both jobs.
I think it's, is it called tourism coordinator or?
Economic development and tourism coordinator, yes.
Yeah. Yes, it is one job description. When it first started, what was it, you've been here 3 years now?
3 years ago. 3 years ago, town meeting.
Yes. Are we ready to vote on Article 14?
I'll make a motion that the town approve Article 14, Sturbridge Choice Association budget in the amount of $183,290.
Second?
Any further
So
discussion?
you want to, the
And
article is written.
Yes. Well, we
No, it
have
needs to be
to,
amended.
you're going to fix the 1,000, right?
Right, she did.
You already did, okay.
Move the- or
And
take-
what about the,
I'll talk about it after we leave, because it doesn't affect them. I'll explain.
But it would affect our motion if we wanted to amend it to do
And then
that.
don't make a motion.
oh, you're going to be talking
To
about
amend
that?
it to what? I'm sorry?
The motion is to approve the articles written, which is what I agreed
No,
with.
I think she wants, I was asking her how she wants to do it.
Right.
Right.
Why don't you would like us to vote it as written?
Why don't you just wait, let them move on. Chief Ford is here.
Okay.
Let him move on, and then I will explain.
Okay,
All right, we'll take the votes
we're all
later.
set. We're all set.
Did anybody have any questions on the economic,
Well, I think he
whatever,
covered it
budget,
there.
the actual budget in the book for him, which was really literally 50%. The supplies were there the last couple years. I don't think they changed at all.
It was the same budget as presented last year.
Yeah. Page 14 in the detail. Yeah, it's the same.
Level funded.
Level funded, okay. But any questions on that? Okay, then I guess we can vote later then. All right, thank you guys for coming.
Thank you all very much.
So Chief Ford is here. Last meeting, we were reviewing Article 15 on the Betterment Committee expenditures. There was some discussion among the committee members about the drone. Some of it had to do with means and methods and policy and so forth. And we had asked the chief to come back and address some of those issues. Maybe you could fly one of the banners that Kevin thinks is in the basement somewhere at one of these events.
I actually missed the comment.
Maybe the drone can fly one of the banners that you suggested.
I mean, we
Crossed
paid
away.
for those banners in thousands of dollars for that purpose.
I don't know if I remember ever seeing them.
I have on some of the events on Common, especially when they had their own booths.
So I try to express some of the comments that were made to at the meeting to the chief. I asked that he review the
Which I've done,
the
yes.
tape to get a better feel for some of the issues there. So did you want to just start, or did you want to
Well, I
have
think
somebody ask the question?
I think you had questions. I've given the presentation a couple of times, but I can certainly go through it again. I know that there were some questions and some
we have
concerns by
questions.
members.
Yeah, why don't we just go to the question then?
Right.
Go ahead, Karen.
Yeah, I'll go first. Chief, I know in your budget, are we already paying for the training of an officer to fly this drone? Is it already in your budget?
And I don't understand the question. In what way are we already paying for someone to be assigned to man?
I guess
The
it's two
system?
questions. My understanding is somebody's going to have to be trained.
Correct.
Okay,
So the
so-
training costs are in the budget, yes.
Training costs are in the budget, and then the cost of that officer to be the one to man the drone, is that in your budget already?
No.
So, what kind of dollars? are-
I don't know, because I don't know the length and type of deployments that would, with new technology, you first have to go and try to determine how many uses that there are going to be, how many call-outs, how many times that the person that's operating the system will be either on duty or reassigned to a special duty assignment. So essentially, the costs are going to be overtime costs or backfill costs for the position. Depending upon the assignment, how long it is, it's hard to tell and try to put a dollar and cent attachment to that.
So, is there gonna be one officer?
Right now, yes.
And if he's not available, what happens? He or
Then,
she?
well, then like any other specialty, either we go for mutual aid for that specialty, or we go without it. The likely, when you say unavailable, I'm assuming that you're thinking that if the person was out of state or unavailable, if the person was simply off duty, they'd be recalled.
And paid in overtime?
Yes.
Now, have you got any idea of how frequently this would be used and what it, I know you talked a little bit about what it might be used for, but have you done any studies or thoughts about, would it be weekly, monthly?
It depends upon, I envision it being a regular use, probably a few times a month in the future. At the onset, I think once it's an established program, I think more of the town departments will want to utilize that resource. Right now, we're talking about a public safety aircraft system, and if we can take that system and utilize it for other resources within the community to assist with other departments, some of the departments that I mentioned earlier, conservation and building, and other departments such as that, then I think that we will certainly expand the mandate for that for this particular program.
And then would those departments pay you a fee, or would they pay the officer's time?
I really,
or-
to be honest, I haven't thought that far ahead about it. I haven't done a strategic plan, if you will, for 5 years if we branched out in all those different directions. Right now, I'm focusing on adding another tool to increase our abilities within the police department, within the emergency management department, so that we could have another resource available to us within our department to utilize to offset some of the planning processes we have for some of the events that we have in town, to assist us with search and rescue functions, to essentially increase it'd be a force multiplier for us as far as manpower is concerned. There are things that this tool can accomplish that 10 or 15 people cannot. And if more efficiently, I should say, than 10 or 15 people deployed to a field to search for a missing person or a piece of evidence, or to conduct some kind of measurements and tracking of a particular area, or pre-planning for an event such as the Pan Mass Challenge, or for pre-planning for some of our school safety protocols that we have in place. So that's what I'm thinking as right now. It's a tool no different than any of the other tools that we have at our disposal in the police department with respect to LiDAR for measuring, our LiDAR for speed uses, our handheld radars as opposed to our mounted radars, our WatchGuard video systems, et cetera, all the technological advances that we've included into our police department over the last 20 to 25 years. So this is just something that's continuing on with technology.
I mean, I guess there's cost associated with this that aren't generally associated with some of those other tools. You have to have a specialized officer, it involves training.
I'm sorry, I have to disagree with you, because every tool that I just mentioned, people have to be trained on. Every tool that I just mentioned, people have to be voiced on. There has to be a separate policy for. There has to be a retention policy. There has to be a use policy, certification policy, et cetera. So.
No, I think you misunderstood me. I understand that, but all your officers are generally versed in these tools.
Yes.
So bringing in a tool that we're just going to have basically one person, and there appears, in my opinion anyway, to be costs associated with this that aren't associated with, is that fair to say that?
No, that is very fair to say, but we also have a number of officers that are specialized in sexual assault training, canine, accident reconstruction, SWAT, motorcycle, and other investigatory techniques that are all specially trained, that are called out to deal with special incidents, that have received a different level of training, have to go to recertifications, and there are only one or two or three, or even just one in some instances, of those officers available for those services within our police department.
Are we talking, you're clearly talking about a single individual to be trained once we bring this on board and get to understand its uses and capabilities. But if that expands and you're needing this every week, every shift, you can add additional officers to that training.
Oh, absolutely.
If we're going to use it at building and conservation, we can have other town employees trained if need be.
Yes. This is not again, this from the standpoint and the use that we would have for this tool would be from the public safety standpoint. Now, if the highway department, for mapping out their roads, for their planning process, for when they want to pave out roads, they want to send somebody to the training and want to get somebody certified in operating this system, then by all means. And it's, we were thinking along the same lines, the fire chief and I, when we were talking about the fire department, having someone also certified in it as well for the uses that they may have for it.
Bruce?
Question.
Going back to the point of cost that may not be included here, it says to purchase, it doesn't, when we talked about the personnel, is that included in the 15,000?
The operating expenses as opposed to the manpower, or for?
Just like gasoline or whatever,
It
uses battery.
The costs are for the equipment that comes with the batteries. And it should be a startup piece of equipment that we shouldn't have to spend any additional cash to get it off the ground, so to speak.
Okay.
But I'm sure like any other piece of equipment, there's gonna be maintenance costs. Those I have not tracked out yet, and I was hoping that after our first year, when I get a better idea of the cost of it, that we would have better answers for future planning.
And then I just have one other question. How can it be used for public relations?
I thought I heard something about a banner. We could start there and then move forward, because there is a certain payload that these different aircraft systems can have. I think we're limited by creativity and FAA regulations, but when we do have authorized uses of it, and we're in authorized airspace at authorized times, then, I think that if we're, when Kevin and Tom were just here, if we're talking about selling Sturbridge and having different functions highlighted, what a great tool to have that, has an overflight and a view of the Heritage Fest, the town, all the different concerts on the Common, Pan Mass Challenge, Old Sturbridge Village, and you go through that, and you can have all these different events showing up in some kind of a film. We could utilize that as a benefit, and also we could do it for public safety messages that we could send out. We could use it for reenactments. We could use it to assist with school safety programs with the students at the school. We could incorporate some PSAs with them. I think I think it's left up to the imagination, really, more than anything else, of what its capabilities are, and it's expanding technology, and I just think it's a good tool right now for us in public safety, and I think it's something that I would like to recommend that we get involved with right now.
Thank you, Chief.
All right, Jim's
This
next,
is
and
probably
then
more
Kevin.
directed towards the town administrator and Barbara, but what are the insurance costs associated with this in terms of liability and property damage, things of that nature? Is it the same as any other vehicle we would own? If it crashes in and hurts somebody or damages their property, or in itself it crashes and damages that, is that like vehicle insurance on a cruiser? Is there an associated cost to that? Are we covered in the first place? Or
We
is-
have to check with.
Good question.
Yeah, because,
Find out.
I think of that commercial on TV where it goes into the windshield on the truck.
Absolutely, I think this is the environment that all the
Yeah.
insurance companies are facing. Maya is one of 50 statewide insurance companies that handle municipalities, and they're all facing the same thing. Connecticut will do the same thing.
I think Oxford just went through it. I think Oxford just bought one recently within the last
Yes,
6 months or so.
because there are so few programs in the state right now, your local insurance agencies aren't covering them the same way they are covering the equipment like cruisers, fire trucks, ambulances, et cetera. So there's a separate policy that's attached to it. I don't know what the cost of that policy is. However, as more departments are getting, fire, police, and emergency management are getting these systems, the insurance companies are gonna have to catch up.
Sure.
Much like they did with our tasers and other tools that we've had. So it's my hope that within the year or two that they would be
Right.
adding that rider as part of our regular policy.
I'm just hoping it doesn't cost as much to insure it as it does to own it.
And I will as well, because we'll have to make that decision at the time, because, these are things that, once I get there and if it is approved by the town and I get to the point where we have an issue with the insurance, and the insurance is in a situation like that, where it's as much to insure it as it is to pay for it, then I may just make a decision
Just
to
postpone it?
postpone it and do it another time.
Okay.
When it becomes, because we want it, especially with the finance committee, we want it to be efficient and help us save money and manpower, but we also don't, it can't be cost ineffective for us. And I'm not gonna let that happen. I'm not gonna sit there and just blindly go into it without thinking ahead about that.
I just thought it was a question worth asking.
No, it's a very good question. And I've heard two fields of thought on the insurance aspects of it. So, again, I have to first see if there's an approval. Then if there's an approval, I'm gonna go and see what the insurance costs are. And I don't have to, the police department doesn't have to spend the money or start the program. You know, right now, it's my recommendation, and if we have to hold off another year, then we do.
Thanks, Gene.
Kevin?
Just a second question, it's not just technical. So, at the last meeting, there was talk of like other towns within the region having this Facebook. And other uses besides search and rescue have they put their own to?
I don't know if I understand what you're asking me. I think I went through all the, I have.
Well, you went through a list
Right,
of
um,
potentials. I'm just curious, what have these towns that have one used it for?
I don't know, I don't have enough information about their programs. Only, you know, from talking to their chiefs, I've viewed from the Semlec K-9 teams, I've viewed the Oxford's drone, working in partnership with the K-9 units on search and rescue, on night searches, where the K-9 teams are tracking through a wooded area, then through an industrial area, and there would be, the suspect was, this was a training exercise, the suspect was hiding behind a fuel island, and the drone was teamed up with the K-9 unit, and you could see through the infrared camera the suspect, and the drone unit was given the heads up to the K-9 team of the potential location of a heat source in that area, the same area that the dog was tracking in. So, you know, that was one of the uses I've watched through direct video with them. And the other applications are just discussions between the chief and I over there of the potential uses for it. As far as their deployments, I don't have a list of the deployments that they have.
Okay. And there was also some discussion too, and if you saw the meetings here, that there was actually almost like the SWAT team, a regional plan for using these, where you could call in mutual aid from other towns.
Yes.
Do that, and Sturbridge would participate in that as well?
Yes.
And is that just southern Worcester County, or is it a wider region than that?
Well, the Semlec is comprised of 72 communities throughout Worcester County.
Okay.
So it goes north and south, east and west within the county area. And some of the towns are, some of the community towns are Hudson, trying to think of Stowe, they border Middlesex County.
Mhm.
So there are 2 or 3 of them that are actually in Middlesex County. They're also part of Semlec as well. I think those are all the towns that are in there. So as far as the mutual aid aspect of it, would this be part of, they are establishing a drone unit as part of Semlec. So our team would be a part of that unit. We would be a resource, as would the other towns be resources to us that had them. So in the event that we didn't have somebody, we could call from one of the other towns as the mutual aid agreement would call for.
So, in your last time you were here, you were talking about, you were recommended that if you buy one, you should buy 2, so you had a backup.
Oh, the class,
And-
I went to a class just to try to get an overview and a better understanding of how the systems work. And it was a FEMA class called Unmanned Aircraft Systems and Disaster Management. And it was a very informative class. And the 2 instructors there are pretty experienced pilots and pretty experienced both with military backgrounds and FEMA backgrounds with deployment and use of these tools throughout the country and throughout the world with some of the major disasters across the world. And one of the key points that they put out was that if you get one, you better get a second one, because if something's going to happen, whether it's damage or your system's going to be down, so that you always have a backup system. And it was my hope that next year, in speaking with the fire chief, that he was going to ask for the very same system for the fire department.
Okay, and we wouldn't be using the regional system as our backup?
Oh, we would still have the regional mutual aid available to us, yes. And that would be available to us if we don't have it. However, so are a lot of the other tools that are.
He's just backing up his data in your lingo there. So he's got the one unit, he hopes it's going to have 100% uptime, but, he's using a second one in case that he has a downtime.
Downtime.
the moment at the actual moment he needs to
But
deploy it
if there
there.
was one in the fire department or one in any other departments, they wouldn't be part of the mutual aid. It would be only one in the police department that would be part of the mutual aid.
So it's a nice risk management piece to have, but it's not critical right away. You hope that it's uptime, it's available when you need it. Get the first one in here, convince us that you're using it, it's panning out for the uses that you're saying, and then we can have a discussion
Right,
on the
and
backup.
And we want to make sure that it's cost effective, that we're using it as efficiently as possible, that we're getting all the uses out of it, that it is truly a useful tool, not only for the community, but for public safety especially, and so, in some of the needs that we had outlined here.
Okay. I have this question, and I know, knowing where all the source of the funding comes, it's going to be an unfair question in a way, because betterments are one-time expenses that can be used for, public safety expenses, and then there's your police department budget, which is your normal budget. But, some people might be, look, we discussed the last time you were here about your manpower and your need for new dispatchers and a whole bit. So if you had to take a drone or dispatcher, where would you go?
I don't think that's a fair question. We're talking about betterment funds.
I know, I understand that, but
Talking
for the
about
people
hotel
who are
and
watching on
motel
TV who
taxes
may
going to
not
benefit
not realize
public
that.
Safety tools, and I don't think it's a fair question.
Okay.
I don't think one is related to the other.
It would be if, like Jim points out, the insurance costs are $15,000 a year, or the training costs are $5,000 or $6,000 a year, which are a significant part of the purchase fee. Things like that, there's that kind of weighing. Where does it weigh out?
Again, I think it's still an unfair question. You asked me the same questions last year. If I had a choice between a detective or a dispatcher, you choose water or air. It's an unfair choice. If I ask for those things, those are the things that I'm requesting. If you think that we don't need them, that's your opinion, and you make the vote, you make the choice, then we move on to the next day. But I'm not gonna make a decision between a piece of equipment and personnel. These are just needs of the department. They're all needs of the department. They all carry equal weight.
Fair enough. I just, for the people who are watching at home who don't understand the source of the funding, they might have that question. I'm always a big advocate. If I can think of it and someone else can think of it, then it should be answered.
Right, and if that was the case, and I knew that I had to move forward for one cause and one need, then I would never ask for anything or recommend anything. I would just stick to my cause and stick to my guns until that was achieved, and then move on to the next issue. Unfortunately, I have to look at emergency management and the police department and the dispatch center and communications, and look at all those portions of the disciplines of public safety, and every one of them, like moving parts, they all have different needs, and they all need to be addressed in different ways in different aspects of our budget. And we are fortunate, very fortunate in Sturbridge here, to have the opportunity to discuss betterment, because there are many communities that don't have that opportunity.
And we haven't funded salaries and positions out of betterment. And we used to fund cruisers out of that, which has now got moved into the line items, because that's an ongoing operating cost of the department. We reflected there. But if he had to make that choice, or he needed extra personnel in his operating budget and was kind of tight and we needed to control the costs, there's ways to move maybe the cruiser costs back out of there and then to use betterment to support that if we had to make some choices on fundings.
Chief, I got an easy one for you. The funding level, is that based on a specific type of drone that's in use by other services, or a capabilities list that you're familiar with?
I copied the program that Oxford had and that they priced out, and the spec list that they priced out, because it seemed the most reasonable and had the most functional needs for public safety attached to it, with the infrared camera, the flight times, the distances, the weights, et cetera, the payloads that it's able to carry, the type of camera that it has. So I just used their proposal, their vendor, to get some kind of numbers and statistics and data for you to have and for the town to have, for us based upon, and estimated costs. I'm not married to or committed to that particular piece of equipment when the time comes. If the funding's there and there's something that's more reasonable or a better purchase in a year from now, then, you know, that's something we're gonna look at. So I'm not married to this vendor, or this was certainly just a placeholder, and I utilized the closest resource I had, which was Oxford Police Department's proposal.
From what I know about the industry, that seems like a very reasonable cost for a town law enforcement type vehicle. And if one of the primary missions for this would be search and rescue, does it have a beyond line of sight capability so that you have more of a operating area than just what the operator can see?
And it's my understanding that the FAA prohibits the pilots from utilizing it beyond line of sight, unless you've got a special circumstance provision previously approved by the FAA, and you have to petition for that through an emergency request if you have to go beyond that. So the rules are very, very strict with respect to its operation. More strict than the hobbyist that's going and buying one and sending it out there. And, you know, I know that there were some privacy and civil rights concerns that were brought up at the last meeting. While there's no specific case law that's been established with respect to drones specifically, we would operate under the same rules that we do with all the other sensitive information that we obtain through our cruiser cameras, through our daily interactions, through all other aspects of our job. We have policies in place that protect the information that we gather. We have transparency, we have checks and balances, we have audits, and I think that all those best practices would be put into place for this as well, because we're held to the same standard. We just can't go, I can't go and set up a surveillance and start staring through somebody's windows with binoculars, and you can't do that with this piece of equipment absent a search warrant or any other proper permission. So those same rules would apply, and the policies would be adapted to reflect that as well, so that those protections would be in place, and that there would be a policy in place that spoke to that. So those concerns, I think, would be the same as any other aspects of our job, that they have to be, they're still going to be protected, and they're still going to be governed by the rule of law that's in existence right now.
Kevin?
You know, as an accredited police agency or department, does the agency that does your accreditation already have guidelines related to drone use?
I've already put in a request, and the Massachusetts Police Accreditation Commission is working on developing for the state a model policy.
Okay.
And they're working also with CALIA, the National Accreditation Association, for working on that model policy for other departments. And that's where they're working together with FEMA, the FAA, and other larger cities that have programs that are in existence right now.
And I know we touched this briefly in the last meeting. You talked about the FAA requirement and how we have special concerns, especially with the Southbridge Airport in certain parts of town. Is the Southbridge Airport actually have a manned tower, or is that something that you'd have to go to like one of the regional flight control centers to say, hey, there's drone operation in the area of Southbridge Airport?
I don't think they're manned. I think they work off of electronics. I'm
Yeah,
not positive. I don't know enough.
There's
Yeah, it's not manned.
I don't know enough about
it's
it,
not-
but
yeah.
the protocols, much like if we were to utilize this, unless it's an emergency and we have to, for a search and rescue, we have to ask for the certificate of authorization
Right.
to go into emergency mode, then we would have to notify the FAA, hey, we've got the Pan Mass challenges coming to town, and here's what we're gonna do, A, B, and C. Our intent is to use G airspace at this altitude in this area in this operational time, and they'll give us the authorization to or not to. And it's essentially just setting up a flight plan for them, so that they're aware of it. Once you make the notification, then you should be good to go.
Okay.
Bruce?
You could clear it up when you talk about line of sight. I think I figured out in the last answer, the line of sight is from the operation, the development.
Fuel up.
Part of this plan, it can only be line of sight
From that area of operation, yes.
for the drone itself.
Yes.
not the operators. Thank you.
Do the state police have drones? Our state
They
police?
do, I believe they have, I don't know enough about it, so this is purely a guess on my part. I know that they have one for their accident reconstruction unit. I don't know that they have one that's deployed in the field, but I do know that they're working on a similar program for themselves.
Is that, are you talking about the local one or the whole state?
Oh, no, just one for their reconstruction unit.
Period, for the whole
Yeah,
state?
I believe so. I think there's just one, maybe one for each region of their reconstructions. They may have a couple, but they seem to be dedicated to the reconstruction teams. And I know that they're expanding on that. And I think that the Department of Fire Services also has one as well.
Do we,
Oh,
is our department still certified to do reconstruction, accident
Yes.
reconstruction?
Yes.
So we could use it for that purpose as
Correct.
well, yeah.
Yep, that was in the betterment summary.
Description.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean they're still certified to do it, because we were certified to do truck inspections for a long time, and that kind of fell by the wayside.
Yes.
Any further questions on the,
I have a general betterment question for Barbara once we're done with the chief, which I hope we are.
What's that?
I got a question for Barbara. Not for
anybody
you.
else have questions for the chief then? the drone?
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming out again.
Right, no, thank you, I appreciate it, and thank you for your consideration. Good questions, and if we have to, you know, I really do want to know about that insurance, so thanks for that question.
Yes.
Is that it?
Yeah, I think so.
I think
Yeah.
so.
Yes.
All right, thanks.
Barbara, can you remind me about the use of the betterment funds? I remember way back when, we've got a warrant article here, it's $183,000, there's 20 items in there. If we didn't purchase something or spend the money for one or more of the items in there, it was kind of like a use it or lose it. The money at the end of the fiscal year got rolled back into the pot and redistributed again. Is that how it still works?
The following year, right.
Okay.
So if you were going to, you would have to make a substitute motion, let's just talk about the drone, so if the committee decided not to fund the drone, you would have a substitute motion, that would have everything in the betterment account, with the exception of the drone, or saying, then you approve it out of this one, and however you,
Yep.
council would.
I wasn't going there, I was just going,
I understand,
if the chief got to the end of the year and said, I don't want to buy, I can't buy by January or July because I have to answer a few more questions.
Oh, then no, so about the drone, for
Yeah.
instance? Okay, so if we were not ready to purchase it next fiscal year, but the money got approved, is that your question?
Yes.
Then we would carry the money forward unless a decision was made by, I would say,
So unspent money in this
Internally,
article
yeah.
rolls forward to the following fiscal year until it gets spent versus thrown back in the pot and reallocated?
no, it depends on the situation. So if we had, let's give it let's do two examples. So one, we decide not to, the drone gets funded, but we decide not to purchase it because there's still unanswered questions. And so June 30th of next year rolls around and the money hasn't been expended. If we were still in the process of getting information, we would carry it forward. If we purchase the drone and we had, I don't remember what the number is, 15.5 or whatever the number is, and say it was $12,000, we wouldn't carry over the remainder of that money because the purchase has already been made. So then we would close out the balance of that appropriation line for the drone, and it would roll into the following.
Who makes that decision,
As to whether.
not to expend the money into?
And to roll it into the next year.
So it depends on the circumstances. So the sidewalks is a good example. We appropriate a little bit of money every year. And then when we have enough sufficient amount of money, then we basically go out to bid and get some of the sidewalks. But what we found over the years is that if you have a small number of, so they don't usually go out and replace a whole sidewalk, they'll replace squares. You'll notice that when it happens, there might be one square, then there's 3 that are still there, and then the 4th one, right? So we've made determinations of that type of thing, that money carries forward. But if it's specific to, we're going to buy a cup, right, and we bought it, and we did what we were supposed to do, and there's extra money, then it closes out. So
What if you're gonna buy, you decide you're gonna buy a cup, we allocate the money to buy the cup, but in retrospect, the insurance is too expensive, there's the cost of.
right, so we're talking about the drone again?
Yeah, so what happens to that?
You decide you
$15,000?
don't want to buy the cup anymore,
So-
and you're not going to carry it over because you're
Then
not
we
going to
would-
buy it next year either.
Then we would close it out. So that would be a discussion, you know, obviously Jeff would be involved in that, and, you know, the chief would be involved, and I would hope I would be involved in some way, and so then there would be a decision made.
But does it go back into the betterment pot or into the,
It goes into the total, yes.
Total?
The total pot, and then it gets reallocated between STA and Betterment.
so, but it still stays within the STA
Within that
betterment?
fund,
It doesn't go
yes.
into the general fund?
No, it does not. That money will always remain.
So we took our share out, we allocated, we didn't spend it, we put it back in, so you're
I just wanted to
reallocating
clarify.
your share
share.
again, and
Correct.
you're watering down that share if you don't spend it, so.
But if the number was only 15.5, then 15.5 wouldn't all go to Betterment the following year. It would be.
Reallocated between.
Yeah, it would be allocated between the two.
Once this is earmarked for a drone, then until you guys decide that maybe that's not a good decision, that money will continue to be earmarked for a drone, even if it takes 2 or 3 years to buy it?
It would, yes. But at some point, I would push back, saying, okay, what are we doing?
Okay.
So I would say, like, when we got to if we got to the 3-year mark and it still hadn't been spent, but if come June 30th of next year, they're still investigating, then that would be reasonable. I think when you get to 3 years, that's probably make a decision, we're either gonna do it or not.
Well, that clarifies that point, and how that's done.
But I definitely don't believe you need to reallocate funds if you decided to not support any of the Betterment requests. You don't have to reallocate those funds. You would just make whatever your motion is for what you were supporting, and then just 100% for this year, if something was cut, would not get, just all the money would not get allocated. And it's okay to do that. Because the Betterment Committee has already met, and these are their recommendations. And it is the Betterment Committee that brings forth the recommendations for that warrant article.
So the sponsor isn't the Board of Selectmen?
I think normally it does say Board of Selectmen every year.
Okay.
And I think most of the articles say Board of Selectmen because ultimately the Board of Selectmen is the one that makes the determination as to what articles go on the warrant. You'd have to, I didn't bring my book up to see if it was Board of Selectmen last year.
It does say Board of Selectmen here.
No, I'm saying from last year. I don't know if it did
Last
or
year?
not.
We have the book.
Okay, I didn't bring everything up with me.
It says Board of Selectmen. Page 25. Yeah.
Sponsor's not in the.
No, I think the
not
town
there.
report just has the,
It's in the yellow book.
Yep.
so I had a few things that I wanted to talk about tonight, some from your last meeting, but on the line item budget, we'd like to change 2 of the line items in the police department budget.
So you know we already made changes to some of the line items, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I think I've seen all but probably 2 of the meetings.
Okay.
So the salary and wages line for the police department budget needs to be changed to 2,157,296.
196, did you say?
296.
Oh, just
2,157,296.
Okay.
Then the overtime budget needs to be changed to 424,696. And the chief is aware of that. The chief actually gave me these changes. I think he spoke to Mike about it also.
What are these from? Why is the one
So there was a
going up?
miscalculation in, when the budget was originally calculated, regarding costs that should have been, costs for shift differential that should have been included in the salaries and wages account, which were not. And then in the overtime budget, they included the SRO in their overtime cost calculations, and that was an error.
I thought we already decreased it because of
Yeah, we
that.
did fix that.
Yeah,
We had it down
that
to
we went down.
436 something.
The
or other.
4,000 was for, that was something different.
Oh,
Yep.
oh, I thought it was for the SRO.
So do we have a new bottom line?
I can't do the math that fast.
I didn't bring up my
All right, I can do it.
laptop, but.
And we would need a motion first to reconsider this budget. Let's see, there were 7 of us here.
I'll
and that-
make the motion to reconsider.
You were absolutely
Both.
here?
I was here, yeah.
Okay.
That was on April 11th.
Yes.
So motion to reconsider line, the overtime line and the salary and wages line?
Okay.
Well, you'd reconsider the one line item, 66, because we're voting one total.
Okay,
That's
Fair
the
enough.
way it seems to be operating.
so I'll
Right, but Joni also needs to, you guys, that number, those two numbers are going in the book.
Yes.
Yeah, they do go in the book, though. So it's lines. Let's see. Part of line 60, oh, it's all line 66, really. Okay. Is there a second? Reconsider?
I don't think I was here when we voted that. I wasn't here.
Okay. Anybody else like to make that, second it?
I think I was here on the second.
Okay. Any discussion on the reconsideration? All in favor? Opposed? Abstaining? You two are abstaining. Are you
Well, we
abstaining?
weren't here.
I
Yeah, I'm
was
going to
checking.
abstain. You got enough. I'm doing a lot of math, but it's not lining up with what you've,
What do you mean it's not? I don't have a final number here. Then we need a motion to change those numbers,
I
We
make
need a
a,
total, though.
but we need a total, yes.
Working on it.
so it's about a
Showing a
$40,000 change is
It is
the
a
way
I
it's
thought you were
decrease.
just
Yeah.
gonna, I thought you would just.
5,434.
vote those
from
numbers,
this number, Jared.
So I apologize, I didn't
So
realize.
2742184 minus that number, right?
All right.
That's the old number.
All
No,
right,
it's
so
not.
let me go back and double check
The
my math.
2742184?
That's the number that we're adjusting.
So we
Yeah,
didn't
right, we
change
just
anything,
reconsidered
you
that.
guys didn't change
Right.
anything else
No,
in
those
there?
were the,
Okay.
no.
So we got 145,642 plus
Faster than that.
6,000 plus 2,197,296 plus 424,696.
You know what, shush, Jared's gonna do it real quick.
Yeah.
So for line 66, I have 2730862,
270,
2730862.
Mhm.
And for the bottom line, I have 33,
what?
that can't be correct.
No.
That can't be,
You
right?
can't, it has to be two.
The total is 2,741,434, if you're voting the total.
I got a different number.
That's-
I got
Barbara, that's the total of the
2,781,000.
budget, right?
The total of the personnel costs, which is what I'm asking you to.
Which is line 66?
Mhm.
And what did you have for a total?
2741434.
Wow.
Didn't you just say a
That's
different
not
one?
what I have.
No, it's
Oh, my goodness.
The overtime had previously been changed to 436,016. Did you have that?
Correct.
Yes.
So now it's 424,696.
So line 66 was 2742184,
2742184.
which is, you were right. Yeah. So is the new number 2741434?
Yep.
Can I make a motion?
Wait. Can we,
What?
that doesn't seem right as far as pure numbers. If our,
It's less.
it's $1,000 less.
We just can't say it's less than that.
All right, I get it.
So the salaries and wages number went up $10,570, and the overtime budget went down $11,320.
Right.
750.
Okay.
So it's only a net of 750, right?
$750
All right,
less.
so what is line 66?
Oh, I agree. I agree.
So what do you get?
2741434.
Yes.
Deo grazie.
Correct.
Everybody agree?
I concur.
2741434.
Yes.
Yes.
Which is why I wanted the lines individually.
Which is what I gave you,
I have them, and I agree with
which
you.
is what I thought you would be doing. Yeah.
That changes the bottom number, too.
It does.
Yes, it does, but when,
You're only
Fine.
voting
but
personnel
we're
costs.
just
aren't you?
voting,
Right.
re-voting line 66, so. So is there a motion?
So a motion to accept line 66, revised number of $2,741,434.
Yes, is there a second?
Second.
I don't know who was first. I think Mike was. He's close, but any further discussion? All in favor of the new number? That's 9-0.
Jim, I take it you're in favor, right?
The hearing's just-
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, now, everybody raise your hand. Okay.
Okay.
Barbara, can I just ask on the file, I was not on my computer the past couple of days, so I didn't get a chance to send you this file yet, which is fine, but selectmen, are they the same numbers as ours, do you know?
Yes, so I just removed the salaries and wages from the selectmen's budget totally as if it was never there.
Okay. So I think this was the only other budget that was adjusted, with the exception of the, I corrected
The
8
three-
Brookfield Road and
yeah.
Nursery.
Yeah, it was the 350.
Yep.
It was the 7,500 added for the OPEB.
Yes, we've got that as well.
It was the Board of Health going up to 72,000 for the department head salary.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, town administrator. Why was, we reconsidered that, but we didn't vote it, correct?
What?
We reconsidered it on April 16th,
Which line item?
merit-based incentive pay.
Which actually, just because you just said that, I did not adjust that for the Board of Health.
I don't know that we
need to do that.
readjusted.
Okay. We reconsidered it
Yes,
on
we
April
did.
16th. right?
Yes, we did.
You
But I
didn't-
don't think we came up with a number, though.
No, we just reconsidered it.
You reconsidered merit?
Because of the Board of Health.
Okay, so I need to get you that.
But we didn't have a number,
Right. I need to get you that.
so it's just flying out there,
Okay.
basically.
It's fine.
did change it.
We did?
Yeah.
Is it 27,741? Yeah, why did we change it? Do you
Because the
remember?
difference between the two salaries was $12,000, so 2% of that is $240.
Yeah, I do have that number written.
So that was the,
27,741?
Okay, so we did vote that in then. So that is corrected on the file,
Okay.
okay? hang on. So I guess with that, do you want me to leave the finance committee column for you, or should I just adjust it to our numbers, or what
No,
would you like?
You can adjust them, because what I usually do, Joni, is I've adjusted everything, and so then when you send me your file, we should be in agreement if you
Okay.
change everything also.
Okay, perfect.
Do you have any other changes in the line item budget?
No, that was all I have.
Well, have we voted economic
We haven't
development?
voted economic development, so since we're thinking about it, we might want to do that right now. That's page, I don't know, line 47 through 49. Then we can move on to the,
Oh, sorry, I'm sorry. We did have an adjustment in the landfill as well. Barbara?
did?
Yes, we did. Did you get the adjustment from the landfill as well?
No, I didn't, that was when I was sick, so I didn't see that.
Right, you were
today.
sick, yeah. So we adjusted line item 99 for purchase of services.
oh, yes, that's right, we did.
And so that number it went down, and Linda explained,
That's right, Linda had brought that
yeah,
up.
Linda explained all of that. It was, I don't know. I can go back and tell you why, but,
Yeah, you don't have to tell me now, but I'd be interested to know,
Okay.
because one of the issues right now is the cost of recycling, and so I'm not sure that I would lower that budget.
for purchase of services?
Oh, yeah, landfill, you just said, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
let me quickly see.
Something specific, I thought.
There was something specific.
It was specific. And I might not have written it down because I was talking.
Oh, it's,
I didn't actually write it down.
no, she said one other line item might go down because of changes to the permit, but that wasn't part of that.
I thought it was something to do with the number of times that they have a...
Oh, inspections. I think
Yeah,
it
an
was. Certain
inspection.
Inspections.
So right, so that used to be $9,000, or, sorry, it was an $11,000 contract, and they renegotiated it down to $9,000 for the number of DEP inspections.
Okay.
Yeah, that was what it was.
So you lowered it by 2,000 even?
Line 99, went down by 2,000
Okay.
even.
Yeah, so it's 156,160.
Yeah, that's right, I wrote it down there.
Okay, 156,160, okay.
So I guess BOS would have to redo
So
that.
they're meeting again on Tuesday, so hopefully we can get all these adjustments made. I don't see any reason why any of this wouldn't be in agreement when we go to town meeting, because there's really nothing controversial in any of the changes that we made. You wanna talk about? Okay.
Okay, so to go back to the economic development, lines 47 through 49.
Me.
That's you, Karen.
I'll make a motion that we approve economic development lines 47, 48, 49 in the amount of $20,823.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion, or any discussion? All in favor? Wait, 9-0. And I believe we are done with the line item.
So, Joni, just there too, you have to add a line item for that, if you're gonna make a change to your spreadsheet for Barbara's.
Yeah, there's a new number, so Barbara's going to do that.
I already fixed that.
So the salary and wages.
The line number or the account number?
Yes.
There's an issue with that.
Because this is now, there's a
Jeff?
$19,000 increase here where it was 0, so it's a huge number.
We may bring in another change to you on the facilities manager. We're finding it difficult to recruit at that salary level.
Hey, Bruce, did you
We're
take
gonna
my
review the
my
job
paperwork?
description and the salary to see if we can make the position more attractive.
Yep, thank you.
And the salary will not be going down.
Won't be going down.
So
That's,
we don't know where it will be, but we're gonna take a look at that and see what we can do with it.
That's a full-time position.
It is, yeah.
Right. It is a full-time position.
It's kind of low salary to get that kind of expertise and all those different skilled trades.
That's what we're finding,
Yep.
yes. So we may have to, rather than find somebody with all those skill sets, maybe find somebody with a particular skill set that has been a generalist, right? Something like that.
Okay.
Okay. So from watching your meeting last week, there was a few issues that I wanted to talk to you about. Let's start with the easy one. So up until the point that the warrant is posted, if you find any typographical errors, you don't have to make motions to correct them. Just let me know, let Jeff know, let us both know, and we will be happy to fix them. Okay, so we have gone through this again. I did not send you an updated copy, but we have fixed a lot of there wasn't a ton of them, but there was a few things where the word was spelled, it was a word, so spell check didn't pick up on it.
These might be yours.
Yeah, there
So-
were a few words, or they were
There was a few,
capitalized. and
there was
they
a
didn't-
few of them.
There was one where instead of OSV, it said OVS.
Yeah, yep.
Just-
So those are those things we fixed. I think when I took notes from watching the Thursday meeting, Jeff was taking notes, so I think we got them all. But if there's more, I can send you the updated warrant and try to not cause confusion. So I'm not sure how we want to do this.
Did
Yeah,
we
we
add the
fixed that.
column?
Mhm.
Are we redlining at some point so we can see what the changes were?
No.
That was the problem last year, though.
So far, the only thing that we've done
But if
is
it's just typos, I don't.
the only thing we have fixed is typos at this point, okay?
Well, we added the third column, right?
Right, but that's gonna be easier.
Oh, on the,
On the betterment, we
Right.
better,
added that third column.
that's right, you were talking
So
about that.
let's talk about, I'm just gonna kind of go in order. So Public Access Department. So there was a lot of discussion, I don't know what you guys ended up changing it to, but here's the thing with departments. We have departments that aren't outlined in the charter, so Facilities Department, right, is not outlined in the charter. Economic Development, that we consider that to be a department. IT is a department now, so as we add positions, those become, in our mind, departments. Doesn't mean that they're department heads, but they are a department. So you can have someone, recreation is a department, every single office basically is a department in some way. So I don't know what you are changing it to, but this is what we have called it consistently. I'm fine with changing it if you want to change it, but I think we just need to know what we're changing it to. But I think we really got hung up on the word department, which I don't really understand why. It's not cable, because there's other, I can watch through my phone, I can watch through the computer, so we don't want to make it just seem like it's, if you have cable TV, that's what he does in there. There's different options to watch things that are being broadcast on public access. So that was the first thing. Then, last year, we had made, very specifically, and the things we did in the budget, we did them for a reason. And there was buy-in from the Board of Selectmen and the FinCom last year. If you notice on Article 13, or take any action relative to thereto, I've added that now, so it's after, and I'm sorry, I am working on a newer version, so.
Here's the original.
Thank you.
This is 13.
Yeah, I just need.
Yeah,
beginning part.
13 didn't have it at all, so we had,
Oh, thank you.
In what?
Right, so I've,
or take any action there.
yep, it
too.
wasn't, right.
It wasn't in
So
this.
after the dollar amount, we have a semicolon, strike for the expenses of public access as follows, and put, or take any action relative thereto, period. The reason that we did this, and you're gonna see this consistently, public access, STA, water, sewer. By voting, the article is basically voting the dollar amount of the budget. So 109,766 in this example. And then the estimated budget that what we're giving taxpayers is, this is how we intend to spend the money. If something happens and we have to move the money, we talked about the same thing with the personnel costs. The whole reason we did the personnel costs the way we did, if something comes up, like we just did a transfer for the police department because they had vacancies in their department. They have a lot of money sitting in the salaries and wages account because of the vacancies, but their overtime budget ran low. So we were able to do an internal transfer. The chief makes the recommendation comes to me. I look it over, make sure that yes, in fact, that it is, makes sense to make that transfer. It goes to the town administrator. Myself and the town administrator have to sign off on it. It's then given to the accountant to make the adjustment in the general ledger. So it's the same thing with these accounts, because the only way, what we were finding is, the way we were budgeting before, if there was any shortfalls in any of the lines, the only way to remedy them was town meeting vote, because these are special funds. They're not under the control. We don't want to use a reserve fund transfer to fix the issue, because these are coming from special revenue accounts. So that's why it's budgeted the way it is. Again, the article is really the first section, and then the estimated expenses is what we believe. We have not had to make these adjustments very frequently. I believe, Kevin actually mentioned it tonight, he needed to make an adjustment between two accounts. It was minor money, between, I believe, marketing and community support. We have made adjustments in the water or sewer department budgets, maybe both, for if a different line item becomes short. And I know we've taken some money out of electricity, for instance, because electricity was running, we basically had excess money in that line. So that's the reason that you're seeing things the way they are. And, it was a decision that was made last year to go that way. So that's why you're still seeing it that way. And I realize, Kevin, you weren't here last year, but I would ask that you all just leave the articles as we've written them, because it gives us the flexibility to do our jobs. And, you have Jeff, you have me, you have the department head that are, making sure that the decisions being made make sense to get through the fiscal year.
I understand what you're doing. Is the process you just identified actually written down and documented?
We have an actual form as to what needs to be done.
With the 3-4 sign-offs, really, right? Department head, you, town, and then
So the department head usually calls me first, is usually the process, and tells me what's going on. And then I ask them to send me an email outlining what the situation is. And then that email that's explaining is attached to the actual paperwork for the transfer request. So it's very similar to reserve fund transfer. It's a one-page document that has the reason for the shortfall. So in the case I just gave you with the police department, it was because there was a staffing, there was shortfall for staffing. And then I sign off on it, Jeff signs off on it. So our two signatures are on there. The request is documented by the department head that made the request, and then it goes to the town accountant. And then the town accountant, that paperwork will be reviewed when we're audited, because they look at any transfers, just like reserve fund transfers, they're looking at those type of things.
I guess I would expect, it's still, we have a paper trail, I guess you'd say, but the process, so that a new department head has it documented in a handbook or something, says, if you need, for these budgets that we're not providing the detailed lines for, we're just providing you basically a sum of money like we do the schools. And we're going to say, this is what we're intending it to be spent, but it may not be spent that way. I'd like to see that process really documented and outlined, and not just have it, kind of tacitly understood.
Okay. Like,
I-
I can document in writing exactly what I just
You-
said.
you know,
but
Bob-
it's- But it's
Yeah.
not gonna be any more specific than that, because
And it's not,
We'll get something written up and have it adopted by the Board of Selectmen.
that'd be great. And it's not, Barbara, questioning you personally, it's just, if you retire and Jeff leaves, I mean, you want to have this process understood and documented going forward. And, because having, I'm concerned when we're not specifically setting line items, because, you know, I know there's a process, but if you've got some type of, someone who's got some nefarious purposes that take everything and put it into the salary line item, and it somehow gets through, it's that type of,
that's not gonna happen. There's so many checks and balances before we even get to that point. And if I came to you and a line item for salary was 100,000 one year, and it all of a sudden jumped to 500,000, I'm still gonna question it, he's gonna
Right.
question it, you guys are gonna question it, town meeting's gonna question it, there's the Board of Selectmen, so there's so many layers that it's not just, one person making.
but this is
Even then, it
happening
couldn't
within
get-
a fiscal
Even then, it
year.
couldn't get spent because you don't have enough people to consume the dollars in that line item, right? There's not enough hours, there's not enough people.
But we can
I
definitely.
I understand what your goal is, and
Yeah.
we'll write something
Yeah,
down, and we'll get
and-
it adopted, it'll be formalized.
Thank you.
Okay. So that's the case with public access, STA. The better, sorry,
I just asked
Yeah.
for a clarification on public access.
yes,
Here's the charter,
yes.
and I think no committee is outlined, no department is outlined. The only outlines apply to elected positions, and the police department is not outlined because it's not an elected position.
Right.
Board of Health, the ZBA for the 5, not the 2, and Tantascwa, Board of Assessors, and so forth. They're all outlined. They're not departments, they're elected positions. But no department is outlined in that same way at all. The head of a department is appointed, and there's just lists of the appointed positions and the appointing authority, which really comes down to the selectman and the town administrator and the moderator.
Right.
So I guess I don't understand.
I think
your
at
point.
on the Thursday meeting, there was discussion regarding departments, and the way I understood it was that the departments are outlined in the charter, and so
They're
that, I didn't think so either, which is what, but I thought that was the discussion from last Thursday, more or less, right?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, then
So
maybe I
I think the
misunderstood, but-
clarification on the departments, Barbara, at least from what I think Kevin and I were thinking, was, are they included in the merit pool?
So.
Right, like.
Right, so like, just because, that was part of the discussion too, that
Yeah.
it connotated, if it was a department, there was a department head. But there's not. So in this case, under public access, it's an hourly employee that is not a department head, that person does not get the merit.
It's one of my goals as the town administrator to redo or enhance the organizational chart and identify levels of department head, maybe what we would call a division director or some
Department
mid-level
lead, yeah.
position between up and there, you know what I'm saying? And clarify that for everybody. And which are the departments which are functions, we can call them functions under administration, which would be the department, you know what I'm saying? So I think we need some time to clarify that, and that's one of my goals for the fiscal year. And to be put forth in next year's budget as a page in the budget adopted by the Board of Selectmen, as this is how the organization is organized.
So right now, it is the public access department. That's what we,
With a working supervisor.
Right,
Right.
there you go.
exactly.
He's a supervisor, or
So we voted it somewhat differently. We didn't vote the name or the
We
title.
did take
I
out
think
the
you-
But we
estimated
did
part,
take out the estimated, and we did put in,
or take any action relative there.
and we put it in at the very end.
It's
So I think what Barbara's saying, asking us to reconsider our
So we need to
motion and
reconsider
then
it.
make another motion to vote the article as written.
No,
It's not as written though, because there was an error in it.
yeah.
So it should
Well, as
say,
amended, as it will be written when she adds the,
right, it's already
Well,
fixed, so.
Could we have I guess I'm concerned, like, there's several articles where, like, Article 14, where the word thousand is missing, and there's another one where
We changed
thousand is.
that.
I fixed it.
Fix
So
that.
I think,
Where
I
did
think
that,
we have,
where's that document?
We don't have
we
that
can
back
fix
yet.
that, correct?
So
Did-
here's the thing, this is what, okay. If there is a typographical error or an error like it said 100 instead of 1,000, it's brought to our attention, we're going to fix it before the meeting is posted. There's no reason to stress about it or worry that we're not gonna do it. Obviously, it's spelled out, I mean, the words are spelled out, the dollar amount is there, everyone knows what the intent is, we're gonna fix it. So if there's another, we fixed all the ones that were brought up last Thursday. If you find more tonight or on Thursday night, just shoot me an email. I don't care if it comes from each one of you individually, we are happy to fix it. But you don't have to talk about it for 20 minutes, because we're just gonna fix it. And then I will give you, but I could send you, this is what I'm trying to avoid, the years where we had 10 draft copies, and then everyone was like, are we on draft 1? Are we on draft 5? What are we doing? Because nothing is matching up. So I'm trying to pretty much scrub the document as to finding all the mistakes and then send you everything again. So the intent of the article, the substance of the article is not changing. It's just, I can.
Spelling, syntax, gender,
For practical
punctuation,
purposes, we're
stuff
gonna
like
say
that.
as written.
I think legally you'd say as intended. Like,
No, because you're going to get an updated version.
but we don't have that updated. I don't know, I just,
I'll read it to you right now and tell you what it is.
the other approach is discussed, is say, we're in agreement with this article, let's hold our motion until we get the clean version cleaned up and vote them all that night, and it's all gonna be as written. We've had our discussions, and we can get over
You
and,
can't
We will
hold
have a
off
lot.
voting.
Okay, so when you
I
guys
can make a
get
motion,
to
we
May-
vote the
when you get
entire
to May
warrant
10th,
articles as written, we do it once.
When you get to May 10th and you have nothing done, and they're trying to put the book together, I mean,
So
I'm trying to make this.
On that, right, when we do the book together, because, we spent a lot of time on it. Kevin knows, you know, even though you took off on
No, he
us.
bailed on us last year.
In the case of rewriting 1,000 instead of 100, or, 0/00, or adding adjusting the number to have a .00, those kinds of things I thought were within our
so I keep
realm
making
to
this.
do. Hold
Yeah.
on. When we go through these, because we do, and, we read them backwards to make sure that we can pick out anything that we didn't pick up, we can make those minor corrections, correct? We don't, right? We don't have to, is what you're saying. We don't have to spend 20 minutes on,
I'm saying, tell us.
Of
so that
course.
we make the correction.
of course, but at the very end, Barbara, if something
We
like
missed
that
something.
is
If we all
missed,
miss something.
if we all miss it,
Typo.
Look at, if you go
We're
back to the
changing it.
yellow book last year, I'm gonna tell you, I could do the same thing. I'd be like, oh, you guys missed this.
oh,
one.
we found them, absolutely.
They're still, because you'll never get every single, there are so many numbers, and, it's a lot.
It is.
You spell check it, and you think it's right, and you look at the same word, and
Mm-hmm.
you see the same mistake over and over. So I would say, whatever mistakes you find prior to us posting, we will fix. If you find something afterwards,
We
I
can't fix
believe-
it.
I don't know that you should, because then
don't think so.
it's going to stray from the actual warrant that was posted. So I think
Yeah,
at that
And,
point,
and,
it should stay
and
the
that,
way it is.
that's where I was gonna go. I keep bringing up the issue about process. I agree that as we're going along, we're fixing typos and making changes. You can do that in your version, as long as it gets back to Barbara, Jeff, the Board of Selectmen, and it aligns with the warrant that the selectmen post. If they post something different and we're still, post a thing, and you're still making some changes to clean them up, that's where I think we get a stray from the process there.
And
But-
I don't think it matters, like, if, somewhere you notice, oh, we didn't put 109,766.00, and the .00 is not there. the intent is known. Like, I understand, like, we want everything to be perfect. I'm a perfectionist myself, I get it. But I think at that point, we just let it go. And, you know,
Well,
unless it changes the intent of the article, and then you'd have to make a substitute motion. But I don't think we should have substitute motions because .00 isn't there, or you like the word "and" better than "the."
But the
or-
warrant article is just like a check. The number doesn't mean anything, it's the written part. So if we change, like, you know, the betterment doesn't have the word thousand in it. If we add thousand in it, because that's what makes it legal, you
I
know.
understand, Kevin, but I'm agreeing with you, like, that was a mistake and we fixed it.
It's fixed
Then-
now.
Yeah, well,
Well, he also made your point, but .00, doesn't matter, all that matters what's written.
right. But I don't know, I have a hard time saying vote is written when I don't have it written in front of me.
I'm gonna read it to you right now.
All right, where are we then?
Article 13, because I,
We have to reconsider it first.
okay, go ahead.
Is there a motion to reconsider Article 13? And again, there were two people missing. I have to go back and look.
I was here, so I'll make the motion.
Good.
Second.
I know you were here too.
Who was missing?
Not here.
I don't know. Yeah, Jared wasn't.
I wasn't here anything.
And you weren't here, Bruce, right? Okay, so Mike and Karen, motion to reconsider. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Abstaining? Do we have two abstaining? Bruce, how did you vote?
He wasn't here, Kath.
I wasn't here.
But, so you're abstaining?
From
Yes,
this
she's
vote.
going to abstain.
Okay, 603 then. Okay.
All right,
Oh, is it
go
third
Barbara.
abstention?
You're going to read it to us.
I'm going to, did you change the title?
No, we reconsidered everything, so you
No,
tell
we
us
did
what you
not. We
want.
never did
So
actually.
it says, Public Access Department, see if the town will vote to appropriate from the PEG Access and Cable Related Fund the sum of 100,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
109.
109.
yes, 109,000, sorry, yes, 766 and $0/$100, the number 109,766.00 with a $sign in parentheses, or take any action relative thereto.
So you're taking out for the expenses?
Yes.
Okay.
And then the estimated budget for fiscal '20 is exactly how it's listed in what you have.
So Barbara, it's, you have after the closing parentheses, semicolon, or take any action relation to period?
Relative thereto, not relation, relative,
Just like it is in Article 14.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, is there a motion
So
to that effect?
I'll motion that the Finance Committee recommended town meeting.
Mike,
He did it. But you could second it.
You
I'll
whispered.
second, I was
You
all
have to
ready
speak
to
into
go.
your microphone.
I'm waiting all night.
Okay, any discussion?
Fix it, control that.
I understand the intent of it. Until it's documented, I'm going to vote against it.
Did you second?
We're just, if I may, Madam Chair,
Yes, certainly.
next year, if I'm here, which is my intent, of course.
We don't like
We're
this
gonna
number.
bring an official version, the working version that there's one copy of, and you'll have physical copies of it. But we're gonna bring the screen down, and we're gonna have the computer on the screen. We'll change it on the screen, you vote the screen.
That's fine. That works.
And that'll be the official copy as we go. And we'll have track changes. We'll figure out the track changes so people can see it. Okay?
Yes,
So
that
that'll be
was
next
a
year.
problem.
Next year's gonna be fabulous.
Yeah.
I like this.
Not that this isn't, but I understand where the confusion
When
is.
you-
People are uncomfortable. Let's make everybody read the same thing.
But I wish you wouldn't be uncomfortable, because you've worked with me for 25 years.
Barbara.
And I will send you tomorrow, if you would like, the updated version that I'm working on right now. Otherwise, every single vote of the FinComs is going to be 7-1,
Yeah.
which,
I understand, Barbara. I do trust, we've worked together a long time. I know how you do your job, and you do it extremely well. It's the process going forward when you retire or Jeff Lee.
I'm here right now.
Well, I think we have a good solution moving forward.
And we're,
We're
yes,
ready.
and we're
Yeah, we're trying to get through
going.
this year's warrant. We're
Yeah,
about next
we're-
year's, yeah, so.
And right now, we're
It's like the
stuck
Red
on
Sox
something
is
we
on.
already voted, so we haven't made any progress yet tonight, so let's, there's no.
Economic development.
That's what progress
But
is,
it's
right?
82 in here now.
Okay.
Move
We have a
motion.
window.
I thought it was me.
Oh, no.
All in
That's
favor? Let's go right to the
I'm
vote.
watching the,
take the
I'm
jacket
watching
off.
it go up.
All right.
There is no substantive change here, so all in favor?
This building have air conditioning?
Yes, we have to
So it's
switch it.
9-0. Now it's 9-0.
I'm going to go with my respecting Barbara's position.
Thank you, Kevin.
Okay, now we can go to Article 14. Do you want to read us that one too, Barbara?
I don't think anything changed in that.
Thousand.
Yeah, the
Well, the
thousand's
1,000.
missing.
Oh, right, yep. See if the town will transfer an appropriate, appropriate from the hotel motel special account to the Sturbridge Tourist Association account, the sum of $183,290 and $00/$100. That amount in parentheses. $183, 290.00 parentheses, semicolon, or take any action relative thereto, and then the estimated budget is listed.
Is there a motion to accept Article 14
So moved,
as written?
As will be written.
as stated.
Second.
Okay, discussion? Any discussion? We've already had quite a bit. All in favor? Did you vote, Kevin?
Yes, I did.
Oh, I'm sorry, 9-0 then.
So Article 15, the Betterment Committee, just so you know, I looked back to, I believe it was 2000, no, was it 2000? It might have been 1998. It was either 1998 or 2002. The requested by or department has never been in the Betterment article, but it's okay, just so you know, it's never been there. So we put requested by because it's not necessarily a department, okay? So, just quickly, your list is right. Ready? First one is Bloom Committee, then Recreation, Library, Town Planner, Finance Director, Tree Warden, Recreation, DPW twice, Tree Warden 3 times, Police Department, Fire Department twice, Police Department twice, Fire Department twice, Recreation 3 times, Slack, Special Event Committee, Recreation 3 times, and Trails Committee 3 times.
I don't, where's mine?
Wait, there's some on the next
I'm
page.
having
There's some,
this
yeah,
What?
some on the next page.
I said those. Trails Committee 3 times.
I got them.
Oh, 3 times. I
Yep,
missed
she
the
got
3
every
times.
one.
All right then.
But what about the verbiage?
And you changed the.
You
1,000?
added the 1,000?
There was 1,000.
And you corrected 90?
Yeah,
spelled
90
wrong.
spelled wrong too.
Ninety,
It's not 90, it's 90.
90.
Do you know how many times I've changed that?
But you put the 1,000 in. Yeah, you put the 1,000.
So you're seeing things. Actually, I just caught that one myself tonight, I have to admit.
Yes.
Hmm?
I think that was it in that
Yeah, you had the
article.
1,000.
Yep,
So I'll make a
yep, I just wrote that.
I'll make a motion that we recommend town meeting approve the article as it will be written,
I like that
or as
language.
it's written.
It is
whatever you want to put.
written.
With
How
the
about- okay.
appropriate E.
How about as
in the
read?
Right spot.
Is there a
Well,
second?
I mean-
I'll second.
I mean, let me just, I don't want to be picky, but I will. If your motion is normally that the town vote to approve the article as written.
Yes,
If you don't do that right now, then
yeah.
that's not what I'm writing.
Okay. That's what my motion is,
What is your motion?
as written.
Okay.
I wrote it the way she spoke.
That would be our control of what was written now, as the motion.
What?
We don't need to go back to that discussion. We're going,
Yeah.
it's written, it will be written as you spoke, and that's how the motion is
It's as-
worded.
I think
Yes.
she's written it.
As Yul Brenner said, let it be written, so let it be done.
And
Moses.
her,
Moses.
Moses.
Inappropriate time.
I seconded,
Right, sorry
I
about
seconded
that,
the
yeah.
motion.
Discussion on the Betterment Committee.
So are we, as a group, have any thoughts about the drone?
Who seconded? I'm sorry.
I seconded.
Thank you.
Or about us,
I-
taking it out, or,
I have no issues with the drone being in there.
okay?
I do have some reservations about the drone myself, yes.
I do too.
I have some reservations. I'm kind of torn, to be
I
honest.
suppose we could see what the vote is first.
Yeah, if it flies.
Any other discussion on the other items in the Betterment Committee? If not, all in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Opposed? 6-3, so it passes. So that was,
You could, if you wanted for that particular one, you could add a sentence down the bottom of, you know, I assume that the other three were happy with everything but that one item.
You don't,
No, we
no.
don't
It's
really
the
do.
motion of the finance committee, there's no minority opinions.
Sometimes people at the meeting will ask, when somebody
Yes.
has voted it down, why we chose to vote it down, and,
Spent the money in-
or we could even bring it up
Simunition.
ourselves if we so chose.
Okay,
yeah.
with you.
But we don't usually explain.
Yeah.
We only explain a vote
My
if we.
office.
Because then
Take a
as
no
person,
actions.
It's not as the
But that's
finance
what this
committee.
is, it's
I thought I-
simulation.
Yeah, it's just
I
simulation
thought you
votes.
gave.
Okay.
It's okay.
So,
Oh.
I thought you gave.
Right.
I did, I gave you this, but it didn't say simunition.
Okay, Barbara, did you have other things, or?
well, Article 16
I
has
did say give them
corrections too.
mid-size.
So Article
Okay.
16, we corrected the spelling for nursery.
Oh, yes.
This can stay as long as you uncapitalize it.
Sorry, what,
On Article 16, nursery was,
Do we throw in mid-size dump truck? That was another,
oh, is my
Mid-dash
mid-size?
size.
we did not vote
Dump
this.
truck. And simulation guns is changed to,
simunition.
Ammunition?
It can be simunition if you want it capitalized, if you want to put the, if you want to make it lowercase, you can leave simulation.
I'm gonna tell you what he called it.
I thought he
I'd go
called-
with simunition,
I thought he called it,
I'm gonna look
It's
right now.
simunition.
That's the brand name, right?
right.
I thought in the capital.
It's a brand?
It was called simunition.
It is. In the back.
Yeah. No, I mean, even when capital
Was it
was,
Smith and Wesson?
approving it,
It must be.
or discussing it.
Simunition.
Yeah, simunition.
So it'll say simunition,
Simunition.
okay? That's what's changing there.
With mid-size dump truck. And in the nursery, not the
So
nursey.
those were the three things that I'm aware of.
Yep.
Then I'll make a motion that the Finance Committee recommend
That's okay.
town meeting approve Article 16 as written.
Discussion? All in favor? 9-0.
Sorry, who seconded?
19 approved.
Bruce.
Approved. 22. 23 had too many O's in it.
Yeah, I fixed that.
23, we took out an O.
Wait a minute.
Yep.
Article 23?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Everything
yes,
else was
yes.
approved before now. We took out an O. 24 was approved. 25 approved. I think 26 is where you'll stop, but then you jump to the end.
So 26, I'm assuming, is the same thing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So we haven't done water department?
Right.
Nope. Sewer?
So Barbara, in this particular instance, if they want to change between items, is it Veolia who brings it to you or the DPW director?
DPW director. But I might ask Shane for clarification as to what's going on, but it would come from the DPW director.
So I'll make a motion that Finance Committee recommend town meeting approve Article 26 as written.
Discussion? All in favor? 9-0.
And I assume for the sewer department, it's the same way, it's their DPW director who would make the request?
I will make a motion that the Finance Committee recommend town meeting approve Article 27 as written.
Second.
I just have a common number, I'm sure it was done. Does the 2438977 and 85,000 work out? Yeah.
Say that again?
Well, you notice there's two sources of the funds in this article. When added together, do they equal the total? We just want to make sure that happens. It does, but I just did it, so.
What are the reserve fund balances for the water and sewer department? Do you have those? We usually ask that at some point.
those, you can with me somewhere.
Is it in our book somewhere?
We did it today.
Ah, there we go.
Kristen, that for us, right? You did it today? I thought we asked him to do it last week.
So the water fund balance, the beginning balance before we go to town meeting is $1,656,419.60. And with all the articles passed, it will be $749,179.60. The sewer fund balance is $1,811,409.65. And after town meeting, it will be $1,713,409.65.
Where's he spending at town meeting?
Who's got some for special?
And how many years have we not had a rate increase? It's been a few years now,
It's
right?
been a few now, yeah. There would have been a rate increase though in the sewer if we did not use fund balance.
Fine.
Yeah.
So we're gonna
85,000.
spend so much down on water.
Why are we?
Let's see, we have a motion, second discussion, any further discussion?
Sorry, we did? I'm not hearing these
Mike and
motions.
Karen. Article 27.
For 27,
It's the
okay.
heat, Joni.
Huh?
Late, it's very late.
Did
It
you
is,
get those
I
down,
thought it was
Joanne?
me, I'm like,
It's really warm.
It is very warm. We're sitting by a window, we're relatively cooler.
you're hot, yeah? Yeah.
I'm going to give them my
See,
seat
it's
in
not-
2 minutes.
you-
If you want to
Honestly,
move.
we can't hear you guys. You're not speaking into your thing or something.
Well, these microphones don't help in here, but
It's not just me, though, I'm saying.
Actually, I didn't hear a motion for that one
Thank
either,
you.
and I'm here.
I'll make the next one real loud. I got one left in me before I got to leave, so.
Mike made the motion on Article 27 and Karen seconded it at 8:56. Any discussion?
Long story.
All in favor? 9-0. Oh, boy.
28 was approved.
28, yes, was approved. 29, we did not.
29 and 30, we did not.
29 and 30. And are you turning into Cinderella? Is that what you were saying it when the clock?
Didn't you hear the
I
clock?
heard the bell ring, so but I did say I had one left.
Is tolling.
We voted on 28 last week.
Yes, we're up to 29.
Yeah, we voted 28, Jim.
We voted 28 last week. So this is a water and sewer rate study.
And
So when was the last time we did this, and what's the reason for
I
it?
haven't done one since I've been here.
Oh,
so-
my gosh.
Really?
and what and how, what does it do? Like, what do we compare against other towns and just?
You look at the net cost of operations and how your rates are structured to provide for those net cost of operations and equity amongst users in certain user classes.
Okay.
And you think that the 20,
Are the
it's
appropriate,
26,000
are
total,
the
right?
appropriate users
That's enough?
paying an equitable share of their costs?
Oh, you have a
And
quote.
and what's driving this? Is it something that our auditors have
Selectmen
requested?
have asked to do this because it has been quite a while. And then we had an issue with the water and how we bill people who have irrigation.
It's come up several times in the
Right.
past where people have had an excess water usage because of one
Because you're watering the lawn.
circumstance or other.
And it's
And
not
they've looked
going-
for relief on the sewer side because they said it wasn't going down the sewer.
Correct.
It was going into the, and we don't allow exception meters, so,
Right, we do not have irrigation meters, right?
Right,
so,
yeah. We don't have a series of summer rates.
so in essence, the,
Type of things over, so.
the water rates underwriting or subsidizing the sewer rate.
So that would be one of the elements we would look at in the water and sewer rate study. How do we treat summer usage, which may or may not impact the sewer usage?
So if we do the study, when do you plan to have the results actually in place and in effect?
I would hope by the next time we put the budget together.
That wouldn't require a town meeting vote, right? Because the selectmen as the sewer board would just be able to vote them, no?
A rate change?
Sewer fees.
Well, no, I'm talking about actually adopting whatever changes come out of this water study. You know, if there's, if we change.
Yes, because our water and sewer regs do not go to
Water
town
was in
meeting.
use for industrial use, things like that.
Yeah, it's not a townwide issue.
So you're thinking by next budget season, we may or may not have this issue addressed?
I would hope to. Once you get someone under contract, I mean, it's not rocket science. I mean, these
Right.
are people that do this. It would be our intent to issue an RFP, interview firms that have done this before, look at their qualifications, their history, have them go through the process and make a recommendation.
Great.
Okay, is there a motion?
Little something to do over
So
the
I am
winter, you know.
very loudly trying to make a motion that the Finance Committee recommend town meeting approve Article 29 as written.
Second.
You
Unfortunately.
guys don't have to be the ones to speak it, you know? It could be like Larry and myself.
Could I get
Moving
Jeff
it
to,
along.
allow Jeff to finish his comment? Because I didn't catch the end of his comment.
I just said it'd be a project we're gonna do over the winter.
Thank you.
Curious, Barbara, when do you start drafting the budget? You start immediately?
November.
November. But the warrant articles after March 1st, because I think it's March 1st.
Oh, yeah, the town bylaws, I
Right.
believe it is say, they're supposed to be in, I believe, by request, they're
To the
supposed to
Board
be
of,
made to the Board.
I believe the Board of Selectmen is supposed to have a list of the warrant articles by March 1st.
Yes, I believe that's what the town bylaws say.
And I looked, Kevin, I didn't see anything in the charter or the bylaws that said the FinCom was supposed to have the warrant articles by April 15th.
It's a general bylaw.
We didn't
didn't
vote
see
yet,
that.
did we?
Oh, I'll find it.
Okay, yeah, I looked, I didn't see
Yeah,
that.
It's definitely there.
So my question is, you said we were gonna do it over the winter. Is
can't
that
hear
for a
you guys.
specific purpose, I suspect?
With your voice, we couldn't
Oh,
hear it.
I
Just the timeframes by the time we get someone under contract and underway.
Okay, because typically water usage is lower in the winter than it is in the 3 or
No,
4
just
season.
from an issue RFP and response interview, you know, we'd probably want Viola to be in the middle of that, DPW, Barbara, myself, those kind of things.
I said at the last meeting, Kevin had said that the FinCom was supposed to have the articles by April 15th. I wasn't aware of that, and so I looked in the bylaws, and I did not see that.
I don't remember that.
I did, I found it.
Oh,
You did?
Is it in,
Yeah, it's definitely there.
okay.
Thank goodness we're gonna codify it all, that way we'll be able to have
It's in there.
version control and be able to
Exactly
find it.
said it. I looked and he's right.
Online, right?
you saw it though, Jim?
You know,
And Kevin saw it?
I remember voting on it. It's in one of our books.
It's at April 15th.
Any further discussion on Article 29? All in favor? 9-0.
I'll let Joni make the next motion. I have to leave.
I may not want to.
I'm just,
It's my
do we
prerogative.
already put fluoride into the water system? And if not, why would we want to?
we're on 30.
We have to have a motion now.
Or is that how you want to do it? Okay.
Yeah, that's really the proper way to start discussing.
Okay, then
Not that we
I'll make
always
a
do
motion that
that.
we take no action on Article 30.
Is there a second?
We already
I'll
did that.
second because I want to know why.
Because I want to be able to discuss it. I want an answer. I may rescind my motion, but I'd like to hear the discussion.
The DEP, it says here, is requiring the towns, so what would be discussed?
Why is the DP retiring? I mean, I'd like to understand, I mean, fluoride sets off a lot of people. And I'd like to have in a discussion, instead of just saying the DEP said you had to, what's occurring here in Sturbridge that requires all of a sudden fluoridation?
Well, it's not just Sturbridge, it's the DEP. I mean, what are we going to do? Have a motion not to do what we have to do and then vote it? And that'll show them. No, we can't do that.
The DEP is requiring us to either install analyzers or convert to a fluoride saturation system. Veolia researched both options, and they're recommending the fluoride saturation system.
I guess the question is, do we fluoride?
Do we fluoride, have fluoride right now? I don't have town water, so I don't know.
I think that you need to have Butch come back and answer that question.
Oh, okay.
We can just, we'll find out.
And what exactly
That
is this
systems makes it so that there's no way that we can over-fluoride the water with this technique.
Makes sense.
But what's the alternative of an analyzer?
Only so much fluoride can be derived from the fluoride power we will be using. It says power. Veolia researched both options and reported that the analyzers have proven to be inaccurate and are also maintenance intensive. They tend to lead to multiple callbacks and subsequent overtime.
Okay.
And that is all I know. So,
We'll find
anything else
out.
you-
I think we'll get answers then.
Yep.
Write that down.
So at this time, I'll just rescind my motion, so.
Are you going to resend this?
Sure, yep.
Okay.
Did that question come up at the Board of Selectmen meeting when they were talking about these articles?
I don't think so.
No.
Hold on, let me check.
Just
What's
curious.
the number? 30?
Number 30, yes.
No.
We've done 31, 32, 33. We did get an answer. That's the betterment dissolvents. There are 340 to dissolve, times $75.
My staff can't wait to type them.
Huh?
I said my staff can't wait to
I
type them.
can't
There was a
imagine.
question on why they were so high.
Can we just add there that it would dissolve 340 betterment liens, so just to give people a sense of their scale? It's not like it's 10, 20, even 50. That's a big number. It's a lot of
Can we
work.
put it in our box?
That's what I'm talking about, in our
Yeah,
box.
yeah. I wrote it down on my sheet, so I know the number.
Just a comment on 32, we did change portable to potable, right?
Yes, I did. It was
Yeah.
potable and then, yeah.
Where is
it
that?
got changed.
That's in our box.
Box
Oh, in the box,
32.
okay, yeah. But we would have caught that. The box is ours.
All right, next
You
time
have to
we
know
will
our
fix it.
territory.
Well, I keep telling them that every year. I'm gonna give them empty boxes every year and just be
There we
like,
go.
here you go.
Hey, last,
Or fill them up with misspellings, that'll really,
last year, we didn't change that many.
Okay.
Okay, so we're on Article 33.
I make a motion to approve the article as written.
Second.
Did we want to add the number of betterment lanes? Is
No,
that
we'll
right?
put it in the
We'll
box.
put it in the
Oh, you'll
box.
put it in the
That's-
box?
that's fine,
Okay.
yeah.
Yes. Any discussion? All in favor? We're down to 8 to 0. Oh, yes, Mike left.
34 was approved, 35 was approved.
20. We've done Article 34 and 35.
Got it. We did 35, didn't we?
yep.
Yep.
We held off 36 through 44.
We did, yes.
Are we, is that because we're going to speak to Jean, or?
No, I think we were just holding off on anything that might have been controversial the other night. Oh, on a side note on Article 46, though, I did contact somebody from South Palm, from CQLA, and they are going to try to get somebody here.
Did you have the name of the
which one?
person? 'Cause-
I went on their website.
no,
Like-
let me give you.
Page
the-
26?
But no, but he was going to contact the people.
Page 26?
Well, 46
You
on
wanna know
page
who I
26.
spoke to?
Yeah. Sure. I think you were sending my email on.
Douglas Wizard.
Yeah, he's the president, I think, but I don't think his,
Yeah, he's the first one on the petition, and that's who I
no,
spoke
I know,
to.
but on the website, I don't think it had his email. It was the
Oh.
other. This guy was under like environmental, so I figured that was the one to choose.
Okay.
Okay.
So are we done?
Well, actually, Barbara, while you're here, if you don't mind, just 38,
Well, I wanted to talk to you guys about the 38. Okay, what's your?
well, just in general, it's just another,
The affordable housing?
yeah, is it just like another one of these funds we're just gonna store money in until it's gonna be used type of thing?
Revolving fund?
It's not really revolving, it's sort of like we do with the ambulance and fire is what I was thinking.
Well, I think revolving, non-lapsing.
Oh.
It was put forth by the Housing Partnership Committee. I don't know anything else about it. You have to ask them.
I know nothing about it.
Is CPA gonna come in front of us?
And get Benny to call me back.
Because I'd love to
Try
know
again.
what the percentage right now is of affordable housing. We have a 10% requirement, I believe.
It's under 10,
Under
but
10.
if that one project does ever materialize, we would meet the 10% threshold.
But what
We
is it
still
called?
have to do
Five
the
leaves
study
and
because we're
five
supposed to-
loaves?
Five something.
Something or other.
Wasn't there a warrant in here that we have to do a study, and we haven't done it since 2007, and we're supposed to do it every
Yes.
5 years?
Yeah, there's a,
I put that in the text box.
What's that?
Put that in the text box.
Yeah.
what number is that?
Article
Where is
6.
that?
Article 6.
Oh, right, okay.
It was last updated in 2007.
Yeah.
The state requires plans to be updated every 5 years.
And it's on hold.
And if the town does not have an up-to-date housing plan, the town has less control over 40B projects. That was the information provided to me. So,
One that's pending is the one, is it,
yeah, down.
Yeah, five
Fair.
something or other.
If it's,
Is it
What's-
Fairfield?
is
Yeah,
it fairgrounds or?
It's behind the
Oh.
fairgrounds, around there.
And there was an issue, I
90
think,
something
with
units. yeah.
I thought
was-
there was an issue about the sewer connection
water or
something.
sewer or something like that.
There is.
Yes. So the warrant articles for the recreation
Mm-hmm.
40 and 41. right?
and the feasibility studies for the.
Yeah, go ahead. There's only one
Right. so-
now.
So you need to, so we go from, Article 38 is the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. Article 39 now is this, is the feasibility study for 60 Cedar Street, recreation facilities for 49,000.
So we're cutting out that senior center one?
Yes.
Okay.
And why is that?
The firm we have been working with no longer has an architectural component, so we have to find a new firm to provide the estimates. And really, what we wanted wasn't what we were getting, so I think we need to clarify what our needs are in the RFP.
Okay. So is Article, the one that's now called, that it's called 41, is that going to be 40? Is that staying in? 70 Cedar Street?
They're all
No,
gonna
those
Seven,
are all
they're-
gone. The only one that's left is 39 for
Oh,
60.
I've got 39.
Oh, okay.
For 60 Cedar Street, everything else is gone?
So what's
That's
the
the
No,
only one
60
left.
is in.
All right, but 41 is gone.
39?
It says it's for
Yes.
70
Yes.
Cedar
Yep.
Street.
41's gone.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, do you mind, could it just be easier if you just tell me which ones were removed?
39 are removed and 41 is removed.
That's it, just two?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
So we're down to one of the original 7, or 8,
okay.
or 9, or whatever it was.
So, do we have any details on what this study on expanding, what they're looking at?
Which
What they're-
one?
Article 40, feasibility study on 60 Cedar Street.
Yes, this will look to, I did a summary box, this will look to provide a feasibility study for the construction of a multi-use synthetic turf field on 60 Cedar Street and its associated parking.
Okay. How about a multi-use field, whether it's grass or synthetic?
They want synthetic. The Recreation Commission has recommended synthetic.
Is it this? That's all.
Long-term, it's a much better use of that property, and it's a much more,
Yeah, but synthetic has long-term costs and replacement. And just,
yes, but less maintenance. I just redid one in Weathersfield, I mean, and they did it, they put a new one in 14 years ago, and it lasted 14 years with very routine but limited maintenance.
Right, okay, so yeah, that's what I've heard, it's 10 to 13-year life cycle.
Mm-hmm.
You got a good one. And then every 3 years is like a massive replacement of having to add more of the powdery, fluffy stuff underneath it. So
No, you should do it every year, you go and broom it. Every month, you broom it. Every once in a while, you broom it. You add some more material, fill material, you broom it.
Me,
So would that require more
I had to leave the meeting.
DPW resources and/or equipment or training on how to do it?
You would want to train a DPW member to do it. You would want to get the right attachment for a tractor to be able to do it. And that should be part of the purchase price of the product. And the installation is the training and the material, the extra fill, all that becomes part of the original purchase and install.
Okay.
Kathy?
And it's a package, and then you get you're gonna have to inspect it every year, you're gonna have to certify its safety every so often.
And so it's just parking in the field and there's no grandstands, no lights, no nothing like that?
There will be lights.
Okay. So it's,
There'll probably be bleachers with it. I mean, this is gonna be a field. So there'll be some place for people to sit, I would imagine. But that's gonna be part of the feasibility study. What's the cost of doing all that and how you gonna do it?
Larry, you had a question?
Yes, two parts to it. I just wanted to clarify that the 60 Cedar Street feasibility study for recreation has nothing at all to do with any senior center?
No,
It doesn't, okay.
just recreation only.
Okay, now that's the first part. The second part is, about a week ago, I was contacted by a gentleman who this is on the phone, identified himself as chair of a senior center feasibility study. He talked about 60 Cedar, 60 and 70, the existing facility, knock out a wall, where does the parking go, that sort of thing is what he spoke of. I would not be surprised if he calls again to ask why there is now no action on the senior center, and I'm asking for guidance on what my answer to him should be.
If we are talking about the same individual, he was at the Board of Selectmen meeting when they removed that warrant article from
Oh, he was? Oh,
Yes.
Mr. White.
Mr. White.
Okay.
He was there. And he and I are meeting later this week about what happens next.
Okay, that is groovy. Thank you.
You're welcome.
in 60 Cedar Street's town-owned property that we purchased with CPA funds?
I don't know how we obtained them.
I don't know. But there's
I don't think
recreation
so.
activities on it now.
It
I-
wasn't CPA funds.
I think
know.
it was gifted.
Oh, okay.
I think it was gifted from someone outside the area. I think 70 was gifted, too. I think it was a package.
Perhaps.
Do you want more information on that feasibility study, or are you ready to vote?
Well, the only other thing too is they actually have, like, they really expect $49,000 to cover their costs?
Of the study, yeah. This is to see where, can you fit it in, where's the wetlands, how's the topography, how's the subgrade, are you gonna have to blast, what's the soils like, where the drainage is gonna go, all those things. So then you hire a landscape architect to design the field and bid the project.
That's the next stage.
Yes. This will tell you if you can make it happen. 110-foot wide yard, 110 yard times 70 yard wide field, associated parking, there'll be lights on it. Well, I don't know about
Fencing.
bleachers, but I don't know about fencing either. I don't know.
Is this
Maybe.
intended to be a multi-purpose type?
Yes.
field?
Multi-purpose, 4 to 5 sports on it. You can add line striping sewn into these for particular sports. The one I just did in Weathersfield had 5 sports sewn in. And then we, on another piece of the field, we actually installed a synthetic turf varsity softball field. So the grass part is green, the infield is a brown turf, all regulation size. Portable fencing, outfield fencing with a warning track. You can do whatever you want with these things now. And it's 9-month use, you don't use them in the winter. But it's 18 hours a day if there's lights on them.
I mean, that is a neighborhood for lights. I mean, I don't know, have they considered that there's,
I imagine there'll be public hearings,
yeah.
or at least public meetings on it.
How late are the tennis courts and the basketball courts used?
I don't
Particularly in
play
the
that
fall
late.
when it
They're
gets
lighted-
dark
they're
early.
lighted.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah.
Summertime, spring, you really don't
It
have the
is.
lights, but in the fall, that's when the lights really are used.
Right, right. Yeah, that's true.
I'll make a motion that the Finance Committee recommend to town meeting, that town meeting approve Article, it's now 39. Feasibility study for 60 Cedar Street recreation facilities, whatever the number turns out to be.
And Bruce seconded it?
Did you say yes?
Seconded.
No, Bruce seconded it.
Oh.
Sorry.
Beat up.
I think only I heard that.
I heard him, but I'm right next to him.
Yeah, I mean, it only got to me.
I heard him.
And you're right next to him.
It goes out the window here. Any further discussion? Not all in favor? Guess that's everybody, 8-0. Okay.
Okay.
So this is now Article 39. Did you renumber the rest?
Then the next one is 40, which is Tantascwa. Is that what your next
Yeah.
one?
So I'd make a motion that we approve Article 40 as written.
Is there a second?
Second.
You really jumped the gun there.
Jump right in there.
Gotta get on.
Okay, they did talk about that when they were here last
Yep.
week, the school personnel. So is there any further discussion on this?
Well, yes. $2 million parent, $2 million. Is that in the same style as the others? I don't think
So
so.
this was submitted by the school
Oh,
department.
so nothing can be changed? Is
I
it a
mean, I'm
petition?
assuming that their bond counsel probably wrote the article.
Okay.
So I'm always hesitant to change articles that are written by bond counsel.
No, agreed. Okay.
And that's the maximum that they would borrow, right?
Correct.
2 million?
Correct.
As I understand it.
Yes. So the text box is what the information that it was provided to me. You might have more information than that, but I was trying to simplify it.
I mean, they were even saying that there's a possibility that they would not even have to borrow, depending on
Correct,
how
yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
MSBA acted.
But they did ask us to approve it, and then they'd
Oh,
come
well,
back
yeah.
and tell us, yeah.
Yes,
It's a good project.
yeah.
Doors and windows are good.
No, I mean,
There was
I believe those
PCBs.
doors and windows are original to that
That's
school,
what they
That's what they stated, yeah.
which is, I think it opened in 1975. Yeah, quite a while ago.
Well built.
Yeah, that school's actually stayed in pretty good shape. If there's no further discussion, all in favor? 8-0. Okay, 4, 5,
There's no 43.
Now we are up to,
There's no 43?
There's no 43 on this one.
41.
oh yeah, they did skip a number here.
But then that's now 40.
There was no 43.
So now it's 41. Public
I
marijuana
think that
consumption should be
happened when
41.
we eliminated
one of the
several of the
recreation?
recreation ones, yeah.
So this is now 41, the public marijuana consumption bylaw?
Yes.
almost done, aren't we? Just looking at this hour and whether we want to go into this at this point. Somebody's shaking their heads. Yeah, I think this could generate some discussion.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
That might be a good place to stop.
Maybe, no, but can we just, what did you not do on the special?
We haven't done anything.
Oh, you know what? Those two papers I gave you, can I have those back? That was the special town meeting warrant.
What's that?
I gave Bruce, I thought they were his, but I gave him my special town meeting
We haven't
warrant.
done anything yet.
Okay.
We decided to go, start with, I mean, I think we were waiting to see if you had numbers, like for the police contract.
Yeah, so
That was really the main
the
one.
board, I asked Jeff to ask the Board of Selectmen to reopen the warrant and to change the
I
wording.
thought they were yours.
For Article 58 to include the amounts. So after they do that, I'll send you the wording,
Okay.
because they haven't done it yet. So right now, the way you have it is the way they close the warrant,
Oh, okay,
okay?
all right. All right then, let's see.
Yep, that's them. Thank you. Oh, no, it was my fault.
So, we have no minutes yet. Any new business?
You want me to call Butch on the DPW to come back to talk about that?
Thank you, Jeff and Barbara.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, yeah, thank you for coming. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're good.
You have a